The policewoman held a stun gun in her hand and wanted to arrest the man, but when she pulled the trigger, someone flew over to help the man. The policewoman saw this and took out a smoke gun. Unexpectedly, the smoke in the gun was also sucked up by a girl. Finally, the policewoman angrily took out a baton. At this time, another person appeared, grabbed the baton, and threw it aside. The policewoman was extremely confused when she saw this. It was obvious that she didn't see anyone other than the man in front of her. So the policewoman immediately asked the man what kind of magic he was practicing. The man said that he could see ghosts and control them, but the policewoman naturally wouldn't believe such nonsense. But she didn't know that this man really had the ability to see ghosts, and he was also the only remaining heir of his family. Not long ago, the Cha family was a famous ghost-catching family in the area. They had served a general for generations. Mr. Sagum is a kind-hearted shaman who loves to help others, but one day, Mr. Sagum wanted to catch a serial killer who was possessed by a ghost, but he ended up being suspected of killing a policeman. As soon as the news was released, the people who had previously been grateful to or were being taken care of by Mr. Sagum suddenly betrayed him. They said that Mr. Sagum was a fraud and did not believe in ghosts. Mr. Sagum's grandson saw this scene and felt indignant on behalf of his grandfather. This made the young man even more determined that he would never live like this in the future. The young man resolutely left his grandfather and went to explore the outside world. Many years later, Mr. Sajum was seriously injured by a demon while catching ghosts. As he was dying, Mr. Sajum told the people around him that the next successor appointed by the general was his grandson Cha Wu. After many years of hard work, Cha Wu is now a very famous magician. His magic show is so thrilling that it makes everyone in the audience very excited. Today, Cha Wu will perform another thrilling magic trick. He rides a motorcycle around a circle in a place where there are not many people and randomly chooses an audience member to shoot the arrow he made. Cha Wum declares that if anyone hits him, he will refund the ticket price 10 times. With such a good thing, everyone is eager to try it. But before Cha Wum goes on stage, the staff tells him that the device is malfunctioning and cannot be used. But Cha Wum is still confident in himself. He feels that with his level and ability, there will never be an accident while performing. This girl Soha is a very enthusiastic police officer and likes to help people. Soha always considers protecting justice as her life goal. One day, two women got into a fight in a restaurant. Someone called the police. Soha immediately sent someone to check. When she arrived, Soha had to step in to resolve the conflict between the two women. The two women were good friends, and the girl suspected her best friend of stealing her lover. The best friend refused to admit it, so the girl angrily threw a cup of coffee at her best friend. Unexpectedly, the cup of coffee accidentally splashed all over Soha. Soha had a hard time telling the two women to sit down and calmly shake hands to make peace, but at this moment, Soha suddenly discovered that the cardboard boxes the two used were both from Jeju Island. Soha also said that they must be very close friends to travel together. After hearing this, the two women immediately changed their attitudes. It turned out that the girl took the tissue from her best friend's boyfriend's car. That meant that the girl had gone to Jeju Island with her best friend's boyfriend. She couldn't hide it anymore, so she admitted it. Soha used her professional knowledge to successfully drive the two women crazy. She was also injured when she tried to stop the argument, but these were small matters. The next day, Soha met her neighbor in front of the convenience store. The two chatted for a while, and then Soha knew that her neighbor's wife was about to give birth. So now, the neighbor has to work part-time. The neighbor delivers food every day to relieve the pressure of life. While the two were chatting, Soha suddenly saw a thief on a motorbike robbing someone else. Soha borrowed her neighbor's motorbike and put on a helmet to chase after him. Coincidentally, when Soha got there, Cha Wung was performing magic, but the thief was still wearing his helmet. Because the light was dim, Soha thought Cha Wung was a thief and hugged him tightly. Soha didn't know that Cha Wung was performing magic. Cha Wung was so annoyed by Soha that he had to stop the magic. Soha understood the situation and quickly apologized. She quickly put on her helmet and left. Unexpectedly, when she went out, she saw the thief tied up and wrapped around a pole. After Soha took the thief to the police station, she went home and returned the helmet to her neighbor. The neighbor said that the helmet wasn't his. He had a dash cam attached to his helmet. Soha suddenly realized that she had taken the wrong helmet. She wanted to find Cha Wung to exchange the helmet, and the helmet in the tool room was now recording a strange scene. Objects were floating in the air. Cha Wung had returned to his hometown after his grandfather's incident, so he wasn't in his room. Soha went into Cha Wung's room by herself. She changed the helmet and gave it to the neighbor. The floating objects in the air were the ones in Cha Wung's amazing magic show. The reason why Cha Wung's magic show became more excellent was not because of his real ability, but because of his ability to communicate with ghosts. To perform the magic trick, he had to accept 3 ghosts. One was Ah Rong, a beautiful computer expert. The second was Sang Gyeon, who looked like Cha Wung and was suitable to replace him when needed. There was also a person with unlimited powers mentor named Dong Chol. They were Cha Wong's assistants and could not be detected, but after they finished practicing magic today, they saw the flashing helmet recording their work. The three ghosts guessed that Cha Wong was probably afraid that they would be lazy to practice, so he installed a surveillance camera, which made the three ghosts feel a little dissatisfied. The next day, Cha Wong sent the three ghosts off to see his grandfather off on final journey. As soon as Cha Wong returned, Gummo told everyone to stand up and salute him because he was the one who would serve the general. Cha Wong did not like this scene. After paying respect to his grandfather, he quickly left. He did not want to inherit his grandfather's job. The result of being willing to help others was being betrayed by others. Cha Wong should never trust anyone in his life. Seeing Cha Wong leave, Gummo knew that Cha Wong could not escape his fate. The general would find him at all costs. On the way back, Arum found a jar full of rice in the car. It was considered an altar to the gods and was used to worship the ancestors of previous generations. Cha Wong immediately became upset. He reached behind the seat to throw it away. Unexpectedly, a passerby suddenly appeared in front of him. Cha Wu, avoiding the passerby, crashed into a recycling bin on the side of the road. They got out of the car to check and found a passerby who was a ghost. It was So Ha's neighbor. He died in a traffic accident. The neighbor knelt on the ground and said that today was his wedding day, so he hoped Cha Wong could help him buy his wife's favorite spiral bread. Cha Wong firmly refused the neighbor because he didn't want to be involved in this matter. After saying that, Cha Wong drove away. When they got home, the ghosts sympathized with the neighbor and criticized Cha Wong for being cruel, but Cha Wong only wanted to make money and didn't want to do these useless things or be involved with anyone he didn't like. After saying that, Cha Wong left. The ghosts also returned to their altars to rest. Today was a beautiful day. Everyone had breakfast together. Dong Chol took this opportunity to talk about the camera on the helmet. Cha Wong was confused because he didn't install a camera on it, so Cha Wong returned to the tool room, but the helmet had been taken by So Ha. What was there now was just a normal helmet. Cha Wong immediately called the staff and found out that So Ha had been there. Cha Wong immediately went to the police station to find So Ha, but ran into her, preparing to go on a mission. Cha Wong made his purpose clear that the camera on the helmet recorded trade secrets, so she had to delete them. So Ha said that the helmet belonged to her neighbor, and she had already returned it to her neighbor. After saying that, So Ha hurriedly went to carry out the mission. Cha Wong anxiously followed So Ha to the mountain behind the crime scene. They found the body of the deceased victim, but the witness was so scared that he couldn't remember where the body was found. So Ha searched the whole mountain for the body. Cha Wong chased after her and kept telling her to call her neighbor. So Ha really had nothing else to do, so she pressed the call button, and then she heard a phone ringing nearby. So Ha realized something was wrong and followed the ringtone. The victim's body was found under a pile of branches. The victim was actually Min Ho, So Ha's neighbor. So Ha was extremely confused. Cha Wong also recognized Min Ho as the ghost from the day before. Cha Wong became even more worried when he learned that the helmet belonged to a ghost. He quietly told So Ha that the top priority now was to find the helmet. He was afraid that if it was considered a criminal case, the helmet would be kept as evidence to solve the case. He wouldn't even be able to get it back. Cha Wong's words reminded So Ha that Min Ho was hit while driving. Min Ho's helmet has a camera, so he can see the truth behind the cases of the dead. At the same time, So Ha is still searching around the location of Min Ho's accident. Cha Wong doesn't want his magical secret to be revealed, so three ghosts are also sent to find Min Ho's ghost. With the help, Cha Wong quickly learns that Min Ho has gone to the bakery. At this time, So Ha has also found the bakery. She asks the employee if Min Ho came here to buy anything yesterday. The employee says that the person who just went out also asked the same question and talked about spiral bread. So Ha feels that something is wrong with Cha Wong, so she immediately chases him, but Cha Wong has long disappeared. Then So Ha finds the motorbike that Min Ho was riding when he had the accident. Inside is a card written to his wife. Min Ho couldn't buy his wife's favorite cake, but only spiral bread. So Ha also found a piece of a car headlight at the accident scene. So Ha remembered that when Cha Wong came to see her in the morning, his car headlight was broken. Now So Ha had enough reason to suspect Cha Wong that he was the one who killed Min Ho last night. It seems that Cha Wong was anxious to find Min Ho's helmet because he was afraid that the camera on the helmet would record evidence of his crime. So Ha picked up the stun gun and wanted to capture Cha Wong. Cha Wong signaled the three ghosts to help him. Seeing that Cha Wong did not listen, So Ha took out the gun. San Jon helped Cha Wong block the electric shock. Then So Ha took out the smoke gun. Aron sucked all the smoke out of it. Finally, So Ha took out the baton. Dong Chol walked over, grabbed the baton, and threw it aside. So Ha felt something was wrong. She asked Cha Wong what was going on. He leaned close to So Ha's hand and whispered to her that he had ghosts protecting him. Cha Wong told So Ha that he could see ghosts, and he admitted that ghosts helped him with his magic tricks, and the helmet revealed that secret. The reason he knew about spiral bread was because he met Min Ho's ghost, but So Ha only considered him a lunatic who didn't believe in those words. In order to make So Ha believe what he said, Cha Wong asked the ghost to lift So Ha onto the sofa. Then he lifted the chair and So Ha into the air and shook the chair left and right. So Ha was so scared that she screamed over and over again. After teasing So-ha, the ghosts finally put her down, but So-ha was still suspicious until Cha-won said that Min-ho bought a wedding anniversary cake and that he had an unborn daughter. So-ha gradually believed that Cha-won could see ghosts. Seeing this, Cha-won took the opportunity to tell the content of the transaction. He would talk to Min-ho's ghost to help So-ha find the murderer, and after So-ha found the helmet, she had to delete all the content recorded on the camera. The partnership was officially established, and the two immediately began to act. On the way, Cha-won turned around and gave the task to the three ghosts sitting in the back seat. So-ha looked at the back seat but saw no one. This scene scared her very much. Cha-won calmly introduced his three ghost employees to So-ha. That year, after subduing the three ghost employees, he had to go everywhere to find necessities from his life to burn for them, especially cell phones. This made it easy for them to contact Cha-won at all times. The two groups acted separately. The ghosts went to the police station to eavesdrop on the police investigation progress, while Cha-won and So-ha went to Min-ho's house. When they went upstairs, Cha-won heard crying. Following the sound, he went to the rooftop and looked for Min-ho's soul. Cha-won talked to Min-ho for a while and then got straight to the point. Cha-won asked Min-ho who the murderer was, but Min-ho was very agitated after being hit by a car. No matter what, Min-ho couldn't remember the face of the culprit. Cha-won lost his temper, but these actions made So-ha feel that Cha-won was acting for her to see. She shouldn't have believed his ghost's words. Seeing this, Cha-won thought of a way to prove that he could really see Min-ho. Cha-won asked So-ha to ask Min-ho's wife how many years she had lived with her husband. Cha-won answered fluently under the guidance of Min-ho's soul. Although So-ha found it hard to believe, she eventually believed that Cha-won could see ghosts. So-ha apologized to Cha-won for her previous behavior. Only then did Cha-won remember that if a ghost lost its memory, then let that ghost experience the same thing before it died. It is said that if a ghost loses its memory, it can stimulate the ghost to remember the memories before it died. Min-ho originally had a little memory of cars, so when he saw the car rushing towards him, he wanted to avoid it, but when he thought about catching the real culprit and the other party being able to compensate his wife with some money to live, Min-ho was filled with courage. He stood in the middle of the road waiting for the car to hit him. Just as a car was about to hit him, the crime scene appeared in Min-ho's mind. It turned out that after the accident, Min-ho did not die at the scene. The driver who caused the accident was afraid of having to pay a high compensation, so he dragged Min-ho into the wilderness forest. Min-ho told So-ha that he remembered the license plate number 1004 of that person, as well as the car model. So-ha followed the clues and found the car that Min-ho mentioned, but the car did not match the description. So-ha seemed to have discarded a broken car that was about to be taken to the junkyard from her list. Thinking that the clues had been interrupted, Cha-won noticed that there was a number 1004 sticker on the body of the car. The sticker immediately reminded Min-ho that the night of the incident, he was forced to sit in the back seat of the car by the murderer. Min-ho also saw the 1004 junkyard sign on the car. They immediately questioned the employees of the junkyard about whether their company repaired cars. The employees replied that the boss drove this type of car, but the boss was on a business trip abroad. After hearing this, Cha-won and So-ha realized that the murderer wanted to escape because he was afraid of committing a crime, so they immediately went to the junkyard. At the same time, police officer Hee-soo, who was a good friend of So-ha, discovered a piece of a car headlight at the crime scene. Hee-soo asked someone from the technical department to confirm that it definitely belonged to a black car, and that this car was Cha-won's car. Hee-soo thought that Cha-won was a suspect and immediately issued an arrest warrant, but So-ha said that Cha-won was with her. A moment later, the three ghosts also called Cha-won to report the situation. Time was of the essence, so So-la-rom then helped Cha-won uncuff him. This scene made So-ha understand more clearly that the ghost next to Cha-won really existed. Later, Hee-soo called So-ha to scold her for her recklessness, but So-ha said that the real criminal was on the run. She was forced to go and capture the culprit. Even if she was punished, she would not hesitate. Seeing So-ha risking her life for justice, Cha-won was moved by her spirit. Finally, the group arrived at the parking lot, but the owner of the parking lot was afraid that he would be discovered sooner or later, so he put the car that caused the accident and Min-ho's helmet into the crusher. So-ha saw that the car was about to turn into a pile of scrap metal, so she quickly ran to the car to get the helmet back. Luckily, Cha-won stepped forward and pulled So-ha. Otherwise, So-ha's hand would have been crushed. So-ha turned back to question the owner of the auto shop. The owner denied the accusation of abandoning the victim's body. The boss also said that at the time of the incident, he was drinking with the police chief. In the end, the boss criticized So-ha's level as too low and not worthy to talk to him. So-ha saw that the boss mentioned the police chief and had no way to continue asking questions. She only felt sorry for Min-ho. It was clear that she had promised his wife that she would definitely investigate carefully, but as a result, all the evidence had been destroyed. Seeing So-ha's pain, Cha-won suddenly remembered his grandfather. So-ha and his grandfather had similar personalities. Although Cha-won said that So-ha was a fool, deep down he had a different view of her. Seeing So-ha crying out of self-blame, Cha-won softened. He told So-ha that he had a way to make the auto shop boss confess, and so, Cha-won's 3 ghosts began to act. That night, Cha-won said 3 ghosts came to disturb the auto shop owner's workplace and created a scary atmosphere. They wrote the word murder on the wall. Then they let Sang-gon put his clothes back on and put on his helmet. Cha-won voiced Sang-gyeon from behind and said the words that the auto shop owner said to Min-ho before he died. After saying that, Sang-gyeon took off his helmet, revealing the shape of a headless ghost. The boss thought that Min-ho had returned to claim his life, so he was scared and quickly opened the door and ran out. When he saw So-ha, the boss hugged her thigh and said that he wanted to surrender. At the same time, he also admitted that he was the culprit. Min-ho's matter was successfully resolved. Cha-won also came to participate in the recording of the program. In front of the camera, only cards were shot out of the helmet, but in fact, it was thanks to Dong-chol, standing next to him, blowing hard. Then the cards surrounded Cha-won, thanks to the 3 ghosts, and Min-ho, who had just joined. They held sticks with cards attached, and took turns moving. When Cha-won picks up one of the cards, the 4 ghosts will immediately fall to the ground, making it look like the other cards have fallen. As long as Cha-won earns money, the ghosts can also receive a rich reward. In another development, So-ha is being interviewed as a police officer solving a case, but the police chief is not happy to see that. It turns out that police chief Chan-ho and So-ha's father used to be colleagues. After So-ha's father's accident, Chan-ho still raised So-ha. So-ha has been determined since she was little to become a detective police officer like her father, but no matter how many applications So-ha submitted, Chan-ho would not let her join the criminal police force. So-ha has always had a secret crush on Chang-ho's son, Hee-soo. Chang-ho looks at the photo of So-ha's father in his hand and recalls memories. At that time, Chang-ho and So-ha's father were together searching for a serial killer possessed by a demon, but neither of them were a match for the murderer. At the critical moment, Cha-won's grandfather arrived and defeated the murderer. At this time, Chang-ho stood up and fired a shot. The murderer disappeared after falling off the cliff. So-ha's father also died in this case. One day, Cha-won visited Min-ho's wife and his child. Cha-won brought many gifts and helped pay the hospital bills. Min-ho was so grateful that he eventually turned into a flower petal and left without regret. Everything finally ended, but Cha-won did not know that the general his family had worshipped for generations had come to visit. The general was dressed very majestically. Cha-won did not recognize General Choi-gum and thought that he came here to apply for a job as an employee, but there were no more slots, so Cha-won wanted to fire Choi-gum. Choi-gum was not satisfied and immediately revealed his true nature. Choi-gum held a sword to Cha-won's neck and said, "I am the boss, and you need to know your place." But Cha-won was not afraid at all. Cha-won also said that he would never inherit his grandfather's career, which was to become a shaman. After saying that, Cha-won walked away. At this time, the 3 ghosts also came down. When they saw Choi-gum wearing combat clothes, they thought that these 2 people were acting, so they teased Choi-gum a few sentences, but he fiercely beat them. Choi-gum's purpose was to let the 3 ghosts see how strong he was. The 3 ghosts saw Choi-gum's strength and decided to respect him as their boss from now on. Choi-gum saw that Cha-won looked down on him, so he secretly cast a spell while Cha-won was sleeping. It seemed that he was letting Cha-won see some bad things. The murderer on the other side seemed to not be dead, but was living in the coastal village. At this time, at the bottom of the sea, there was a jar with a spell calling the murderer. The next day, Cha-won suddenly woke up exhausted and felt like he was stabbed all over. So-ha brought a lot of side dishes because she wanted to please the 3 ghosts around Cha-won. The purpose was to ask them to help her catch criminals so that she could improve her achievements and strive to become a member of the criminal police team as soon as possible. So-ha saw Cha-won's face pale. He weakly fell on her. So-ha was surprised. She spent a lot of effort to help Cha-won onto the bed. When she checked, she saw that Cha-won had a fever. After knowing that the fever-reducing medicine was in the cabinet in the living room, So-ha immediately ran to look for it. When she returned, she saw 3 memorial tablets placed on a platform not far away. So-ha guessed that these seemed to be the memorial tablets of the 3 ghosts. Suddenly, a man's voice rang out from the kitchen. Sol had turned around and found a plate of food flying, and she judged that it was definitely made by the 3 ghosts. But the other party was actually General Choi-gum. So-ha said a lot of nice things to the air. She wanted this person to help her convince Cha-won to join the patrol team. Then she said that she had made delicious food to bring. Of course, Choi-gum didn't help with this, but was still surprised by So-ha's cooking skills. A moment later, Cha-won woke up. Choi-gum asked why Cha-won was helping the police. Cha-won was confused and didn't understand anything. So-ha had no choice but to explain the whole story and invite Cha-won to join the patrol. Cha-won refused and withdrew money to chase So-ha away. So-ha angrily threw the money away and suppressed her anger to thank Cha-won for helping catch the murderer last time. After saying that, she turned around and left. As soon as So-ha left, something strange happened. Choi-gum clearly didn't do anything, but his merit increased rapidly. The fan he holds in his hand is called the merit fan. On the fan are written the words, virtue power, which is an index used by Choi-gum to accumulate blessings to compensate compensate for the karma he has caused. Normally, Choi-gum will enter the body of his disciple to help people increase merit. Just fill all the gaps on the fan. Then Choi-gum can become a Buddha and go to the Pure Land. Choi-gum speculated that as long as Cha-won participated in patrolling, he would continuously receive Seolha's thanks. Then his merit would also increase greatly. Becoming a Buddha was not far away. Thinking of this, Choi-gum immediately turned to flatter Cha-won. Unexpectedly, Cha-won flatly refused. Seolha returned to the police station and saw that the crime scene and the full moon murder case looked similar, so she decided to investigate. It turned out that Seolha's father died in the full moon murder case. Seolha chose to become a police officer because she wanted to catch the culprit. People said that the murderer fell into the sea at that time. Since no body was found, Seolha would investigate whenever a similar case arose. Even though it had been 10 years, she still refused to give up. On the other side, Cha-won went to participate in the recording of a magic show with a newly famous magician. This magician was performing. The magician's actions shocked Cha-won on the stage. He had just turned around when Choi-gum suddenly appeared. He was trying to convince Cha-won to join Seolha's patrol team. Cha-won was annoyed because the show was about to start. He just wanted to chase Choi-gum away, but this move made Choi-gum angry. Cha-won on stage secretly cooperated with the three ghosts. The audience was also very excited, but a moment later, Choi-gum released a blue flame, which went straight to Cha-won's stomach. Cha-won tried to hold back, but still created a flame coming from his butt. It was not until the staff came and put it out with a fire extinguisher that he was able to finish his perfect performance. On the way home, Cha-won was teased by the three ghosts while driving. This made him even angrier. After returning home, he saw Gumo's mage niece. Ye-ji had been waiting at the door for a long time. She came here to hand over Cha-won's grandfather's relic. After Ye-ji left, the ghosts gathered to talk about the newly famous magician. After he became famous, he received a lot of advertisements. Cha-won was very jealous and wanted to think of a way to increase public favor by accepting advertisements. That way, he would definitely be able to earn a lot of money. Cha-won suddenly got inspired and quickly appeared in front of Seolha. He said he wanted to join the patrol team. Seolha quickly thanked Cha-won for his cooperation. On the way home, Choi-gum opened the fan and saw that his merit was really increasing rapidly, which made him extremely happy. Chang-ho was very happy when he learned that Cha-won joined the patrol team. By then, the TV stations and reporters would come after hearing the news. This would increase Chang-ho's reputation. It would give him a foundation to run for the National Assembly. Chang-ho was afraid that Cha-won would regret it, so he quickly ordered his subordinates to prepare for the inauguration ceremony. Although the number of patrols was still far from enough, he didn't care much. He told his staff to find a few people to fill the squad. A few days later, the inauguration ceremony took place. Chang-ho was giving a speech above, but the people below were only focused on Cha-won. This caused chaos below. Then Cha-won emphasized that no matter what he did, he had to go with Seolha. Although Chang-ho found it strange, he still happily agreed. Next, Hee-soo performed a self-defense demonstration. He seemed a bit hostile towards Cha-won. He took this opportunity to invite Cha-won to the stage to help. Hee-soo used a shoulder throw and pinned Cha-won to the ground. Cha-won was so angry that he stood up and left. Seolha had no choice but to follow Cha-won and apologize. After returning home, Cha-won was very dissatisfied and wanted to practice self-defense by hugging a pillow. At this moment, Dong-chol came to find Cha-won. Dong-chol learned that Cha-won was practicing martial arts and said that he used to be in the industry. This was Dong-chol's forte. Unexpectedly, Dong-chol threw Cha-won to the ground during practice. The patrol team officially started working the next day, but someone like Cha-won didn't want to be exposed to sunlight. He hired a university student to help him while he was hiding in the shade and leisurely drinking coffee. Seolha felt speechless when she saw this, so she took a glass of ice water and poured it on Cha-won's clothes. Cha-won also jumped up and the two faced each other and started arguing, neither of them wanting to admit defeat. At the same time, the three ghosts and Choi-gum were at home watching TV. Choi-gum was busy seeking merit every day, so today was the first time he saw a dancing girl on the screen, so he watched very attentively. Suddenly, the fan in Choi-gum's hand made a sound. After he opened it, he found that his merit had not increased much. Choi-gum wondered what Cha-won was doing. Cha-won wanted to gain favor by specially ordering a buffet for the nursing home, and he sat on the terrace drinking water leisurely. The three ghosts were fanning him and filing his nails. However, this incident once again aroused Seolha's discontent. It was clearly something Cha-won could do himself, but he just wanted to use money to solve everything. Their views were very different. Seolha felt that sitting down and sharing food and chatting with the elderly was important, but Cha-won thought that it was right to let people enjoy the luxury they normally didn't have. In the end, the two of them, each with their own views, continued to argue. When Seolha went back inside, she saw an old man arguing with someone else. It was said that after the old man's son built this house, the son brought him here. After that, the son disappeared. Seolha felt sorry for him and helped the old man return home. Seeing how kind she was, the old man took out a wad of money and told her to buy some cookies. Seolha was very confused when she saw that. When she learned that the old man had dug up money from the yard, Soha realized that something was wrong. Soon after, the police arrived at the scene, and a total of nearly 50,000 VND had been dug up. Dewey initially guessed that this might be the old man's son using it to operate illegal websites for profit. In the evening, Cha Wung also learned about this on TV. At that time, Soha came to urge him to conduct night patrols. Soha was worried that the old man would be attacked, so she wanted to go visit him. Cha Wung also wanted to go with her, but as soon as they entered the door, they saw someone come to ask for money from the old man and reported that his son had stolen the money and run away. Cha Wung quickly stepped forward to stop them. Then Choi Gum appeared and chased the debt collectors away. He pretended to be supervising Cha Wung's work. Cha Wung was busy arguing with Choi Gum when he saw Soha running from outside with a worried look. Only then did Cha Wung realize that the person he had just saved was the old man's ghost. The debt collectors were also ghosts. The two of them rushed into the room, and the old man had already died. Watching the ambulance leave, Cha Wung turned around and saw the old man's ghost behind him. He took advantage of the situation and started talking to the old man. Soha, standing next to him, heard that the old man refused to leave because he missed his son, so she wanted to invite Cha Wung to go find the old man's son with her. Cha Wung wanted to refuse, but under Choi Gum's pressure, he had to accept. In fact, the old man was also addicted to gambling when he was young, which eventually led to his separation from his wife and children. After the old man realized his mistake, he made amends. The money he earned was all donated to gambling addiction treatment groups. In the 20th year, the old man's son suddenly came back to find him. The strange thing was that the son only came home at night, and when the son came back, he only stayed in the yard. It just so happened that from that time on, the old man's spirit had not been normal. Therefore, the old man did not care about this. Following the clues, Soha and Cha Wung disguised themselves. They planned to go to the casino to directly explore the reality. With the help of 3 ghosts, the two of them continuously won money and also attracted the attention of the people at the casino. Experts from many places were sent to solve the problem. This man started cheating as soon as he appeared. He not only changed the cards but also hid the cards in his accomplice's pocket. But this did not trouble Cha Wung. Dong Chol flipped the accomplice's chair. Ah Rong took the opportunity to draw a card and threw it to Sang Yeon. In the end, Sang Yeon quietly handed the card to Cha Wung. Another easy win. Seeing that Cha Wung was so awesome, the man called another person out and suggested a bigger site for Cha Wung. But the fun didn't last long. When Hee-soo led his men to surround the place, Soha and Cha Wung were so scared that they turned around and ran away. Unexpectedly, Cha Wung was caught by Hee-soo, so the two of them fought again. Cha Wung used the throw over his shoulder move to succeed beyond expectations. Before he could have fun, he was immediately knocked to the ground. Luckily, Soha, who was not far away, thought of a way. She grabbed a fire extinguisher and sprayed it on Hee-soo. Then she and Cha Wung successfully escaped. Soha was very excited after this, but when Cha Wung opened the bag to see, he discovered that he had accidentally taken the wrong bag when he ran away, and there was no money in it. 100,000 won was wasted in vain. During the scuffle, Cha Wung's fake beard was removed by Hee-soo. It even left a wound on Cha Wung's chin. When Cha Wung returned home, he still felt extremely regretful. After all, 100,000 won was not a small amount of money, and Soha was just a small police officer with no authority, so she was impossible to intervene in this matter to help him get the money back. Soha felt so sorry that she kept calculating how long it would take to pay back the money. Cha Wung felt frustrated and stopped calculating. Soha was so grateful that she treated Cha Wung's wound. She even praised Cha Wung excessively. She praised him for his straight nose, handsome face, and fair skin. But Cha Wung still had no reaction. All he could think about was the money he had lost. At the same time, the online casino website was sent over. Ah Rong, who was good at electromechanical devices, started to monitor. Unfortunately, the other side is more clever, not only defending against attacks, but also designing an animation to mock the intruders. In the police station, Hee-soo is interrogating the bald guy, but he can't find any useful information. They are also helpless with the website. The case suddenly enters a difficult phase. Soha asks the old man for clues, but other than hiding money, the old man doesn't know where the rest is. Recalling the past, the old man remembers that his son likes to hide money in leather shoes. Previously, Cha Wung discovered that the nursing home has many vents. Cha Wung suddenly realizes something. He immediately sends 3 ghosts to check the nursing home, and they finally find a secret room in the kitchen. Cha Wung finds an excuse to go to the basement alone. He wants to take the opportunity to get back the 100,000 won he lost. The old man's son was indeed hiding here and running a gambling site. Cha Wung offered to let the old man's son use money in exchange for an escape. At first, he readily agreed, but soon he pulled out a knife and started to act. During the scuffle, he wanted to stab Cha Wung, but luckily Soha suddenly appeared and stopped him. A vague image appeared in Cha Wung's mind. A man and a woman dressed in ancient costumes, seemingly suffering the same thing. Soha endured the pain and stepped forward to hold the criminal. Soon the police arrived at the scene and arrested the old man's son. At the same time, Choi Gum, who was watching the dancing girls, discovered that his merit had increased again. He felt like he was about to become a Buddha, but it seemed that there were still some unfinished unfinished tasks. Choi Gum kept muttering to himself that he had to clarify the accumulations of the past 2,000 years. The next day, Cha Won received a patrol order and was stopped by Hee-soo. Hee-soo was a little curious about the wound on Cha Won's chin. Cha Won lied that he accidentally got hurt during practice. After saying that, Cha Won turned around and left. So-ha ran after Cha Won, the two of them talking and laughing. Hee-soo felt uncomfortable seeing this scene. The two of them met the old man's son. He always had a grudge against his father and thought that it was his father who made him like this. The reason he made money from gambling was also to get revenge on his father. When he learned that his father had used his name for 20 years to raise money for a group that treats gambling addiction, he really couldn't believe that he had misunderstood his father so much. Memories kept flooding back. While he was digging a hole in the yard, the old man suddenly walked to the window and kept muttering to Hee to come inside. When the old man poured water, the old man accidentally fell, but he didn't care, and now he regrets it so much. He decided to live a good life from now on. The old man also slowly said his final goodbyes in a place where his son couldn't see. After settling this matter, So-ha mentioned that the next day would be her father's death anniversary. Since Cha Won could see ghosts, she also wanted to take this opportunity to ask him if he could talk to her father, but unfortunately, as soon as she finished speaking, Cha Won refused immediately. So-ha couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Since So-ha expressed her wish, Cha Won also felt concerned. He opened the cupboard and saw So-ha squatting inside, even muttering something that she missed her father very much. Fortunately, it was all just an illusion. Cha Won walked to the bed and was about to drink some water, but as a result, he saw So-ha appear in the cup again. Cha Won wanted to lie down and take a nap when So-ha appeared next to him. Cha Won was completely devastated, not knowing why So-ha was always by his side. He went to the living room and asked Arom if there was anything scheduled for the day after tomorrow. After knowing that he would be filming a commercial until very late, he breathed a sigh of relief. It wasn't that he didn't want to help, but that he had too much work and no time. Thinking about this, Cha Won felt much better. Late at night, the man suspected of being the murderer woke up and walked barefoot to the sea as if guided by something. At this moment, something covered in charms was shaking at the bottom of the sea. At the same time, Kyum-oh was praying in front of the altar. A gust of wind blew by, giving her a vague premonition. She then hurriedly went to Seoul with Yeji to open a small shop near Cha Won's house. On another fine day, everyone arranged for Dong-chul to go on a blind date. Cha Won even specially burned new clothes for him. Dong-chul then arrived in front of the cafe where the meeting place was. This female ghost was very open. They had only said a few words when she wanted to find a private place to talk. Dong-chul foolishly suggested going to karaoke, but the ghost immediately got angry and ran away. At another table, Cha Won was discussing the rental contract renewal fee with the owner. Unexpectedly, Cha Won, as the owner, came up with many reasons to cut the rent in half. It turned out that the owner was actually Sang-jeon's wife. Since Sang-jeon's death, his wife had been raising their daughter and shouldering all the responsibilities. Cha Won, as the superior, also wanted to help. At night, the neighbors reported that Cha Won's family was making noise. So-ha came to check and explained the purpose of her visit. Hearing this, Choi Gum lowered the volume. Seeing this, So-ha also guessed that it was a ghost. Then she went to the memorial tablet and called out each ghost's name, but there was no response. Choi Gum, who was standing next to her, kept pointing at his portrait hanging in the middle, hoping that So-ha would recognize him. After a while, So-ha noticed Choi Gum's portrait. Choi Gum rang the bell to indicate that she guessed correctly. So-ha smiled and bowed to the invisible general. Choi Gum was very pleased with So-ha's politeness. Fishermen at sea were preparing to end the day and go home. The man suspected of being the murderer accidentally cut his hand. He then took the gourd with a charm and blood followed. The man began to feel dizzy, so he tried to hold back and threw the gourd away. But then a voice rang out in his mind, ordering him to open the lid. After opening it, a stream of black smoke came out of the gourd and entered the man's nose. He suddenly raised his head and his eyes turned black. The man began to twist strangely. He then returned with a knife in his hand. A moment later, everyone on the boat was murdered by him and thrown into the sea. At the same time, Jum-oh was paying his respects to Choi Gum. She said that she had recently detected an unusual and scary aura, so she moved to Seoul. Jum-oh was worried that Cha Won and Choi Gum would be in danger, so she came to protect them. Jum-oh guessed that the evil spirit from 10 years ago had returned, but Choi Gum didn't think so because the spirit had been sealed at the bottom of the sea for a long time. Jum-oh then asked about spiritual matters. Choi Gum confidently said that So-ha was a stronger existence than a psychic. So-ha could help him accumulate more merit. The next day, as soon as Cha Won stepped out of the house, a man wearing a hat suddenly appeared in the living room, and the alarm went off. Cha Won immediately arrested the man. It turned out that he was filming an advertisement for sirens. Since joining the patrol, Cha Won's popularity has been rising rapidly. He also received commercials to earn money. After So-ha got off work, she saw that Cha Won had actually driven to pick her up. It turned out that after yesterday's incident, Cha Won had softened his heart. He drove here after filming the commercial, intending to go with So-ha to visit her father's grave. At this moment, So-ha felt warm inside. She looked at Cha-won praising himself and couldn't help but laugh. So-ha recalled every intimate moment with her father. As a policeman, her father was always busy. It was clear that her father had promised to watch So-ha's judo finals, but when the time came, she still didn't see him. So-ha was extremely sad about this. She called her father to ask why he always broke his promise, and after saying that, she angrily hung up the phone. So-ha didn't expect that was the last time she would talk to her father. When she went to receive her father's body, she felt very regretful. Thinking back on that, So-ha couldn't hold back her tears and felt very regretful. Seeing that, Cha-won handed her a handkerchief. It was late. So-ha and Cha-won finally came. Before getting out of the car, Cha-won took out the bouquet of flowers he had prepared. This made So-ha feel more sympathetic towards him. A single ghost in the cemetery shouted that he wanted to get married. A faceless ghost jumped up and down on the grass. The two of them walked forward. Seeing that So-ha was about to collide with a ghost that was rushing towards them, Cha-won quickly stepped forward and pulled her into his arms. He waited until the faceless ghost left before letting go. The strange thing was that Cha-won was actually still a bit reluctant to part. Then the two of them went into the funeral home. So-ha introduced her father, but Cha-won realized that this man looked a bit familiar. It turned out that his grandfather had once gone out to work with So-ha's father. Cha-won was stunned when he saw the photo. He unconsciously took a few steps back. So-ha had mentioned that her father was involved in the full moon murder case 10 years ago. Because a shaman rushed into the scene to arrest her father, he died. Cha-won's eyes turned red. He cautiously asked So-ha if the shaman was released due to lack of evidence. So said that was the point that made people angry. At first, she followed the clues and went to the shaman's house to investigate. As a result, she found that the shaman had left the house. The inside was empty. It was obvious that the shaman was on the run because he was afraid of committing a crime. Hearing this, Cha-won's expression suddenly became serious. Choi-gum actually cried during the candlelight dinner in the mansion. This was the first time he tried tiramisu. He even suspected that he had become a Buddha. Otherwise, how could he have this feeling of happiness? At this time, Cha-won had returned home. He sat on the bed and thought. Suddenly, he remembered that he had attended So-ha's father's funeral and had met her that time. Another fine day, Cha-won accepted a job offer. There was a female idol who wanted to perform magic with him. Cha-won refused without thinking. He didn't expect to see Choi-gum pointing his sword at him with the intention of eliminating the threat and forcing him to cooperate with the other side. Cha-won had no choice but to submit to Choi-gum's power. It turned out that Choi-gum had recently become addicted to the dance of a girl group and couldn't help but become a fan of that group. So-ha remembered the scene where Cha-won hugged her without being able to control his emotions. She even forgot that she was frying eggs. Then she watched the news about the mysterious disappearance of fishermen. Pictures of the fishermen were attached to the news. Among them, the possessed man named Tai-chun caught So-ha's attention. So-ha took out the murderer's chart that year to compare, and it was exactly the same person. So-ha followed the address reported on the website to find a place near Tai-chun's house. After asking the neighbors, she found that the whole house was empty. A pair of shoes was placed not far away. So-ha picked it up and looked at it. The size was found to be exactly the same as the murderer's shoe size. Not far from the beach, Mrs. Gom-oh was holding a memorial service for the fisherman who had an accident a few days ago. So-ha went everywhere to ask about Tai-chun's whereabouts, but they said that he was also dead. The two women seemed annoyed, but still said that Tai-chun had a gentle personality. He could not be the murderer. After saying that, they chased So-ha away. At the same time, the bowls of rice that Mrs. Jomo threw down to pay respect to the dead were pulled up, but something terrible happened. The other 4 bowls of rice were eaten. Only one was left intact. This meant that one of the 5 people was still alive. According to Mrs. Jomo's guess, this person was neither dead nor alive. So-ha was walking alone on the street at night. She passed by a crippled man wearing a hat. It was dark, so she did not recognize that this person was Tai-chun. The next day, while So-ha was on duty, a boy came to ask for help. The boy said that his younger brother was missing, but when the boy showed So-ha a photo, it was a dog. Only then did So-ha realize what had happened. She hurriedly went out to help search. On the other side of the magic factory, everyone was discussing the specific details of the collaboration with the female idol Aris. Choi-gum held a limited edition CD and wanted to get Aris's autograph. While they were talking, suddenly there was a dog barking outside the door. Cha-won went out to investigate, but he found that Aris had already arrived. There was no sign of the dog at the door. As soon as he entered the house, Aris sat down and did some stretching exercises. This scene made Choi-gum, who was sitting next to him, very happy. Dong-chol and Sang-kyun also did not object to this. Only Cha-won was unmoved. Seeing this, Aris felt very bored. She took the initiative to invite Cha-won to help her warm up and even held Cha-won's hand to show her closeness. Then she performed a seductive dance, but Cha-won didn't pay any attention. He turned around and saw that the other ghosts were also dancing with Aris. At the same time, So-ha was feeling guilty because she couldn't find the dog. She looked outside and saw that the boy was very sad. So-ha knew that the dog was a retired drug addict and had been living in this house for 2 years. So-ha and Hee-soo went went for a walk together after work. They passed through the door of the magic workshop and accidentally met Eris and Chao Wu. Hisu put his arm around Soha. As soon as he saw Chao Wu, Chao Wu was momentarily unhappy. He took out the limited edition CD that Choi Gum had bought earlier and showed his concern for Eris. Then he took the initiative to take Eris home, but Soha unconsciously called Chao Wu back. To ease the confusion, Soha said to him the missing dog to Chao Wu. Chao Wu saw the dog and said that he had seen it before while filming a show, but he didn't want to get involved in other people's business, so he turned around and left. Eris got in the car and tried to seduce Chao Wu again. Chao Wu was angry and let her go on the street. Eris then talked to her boss and told that Chao Wu didn't fall for it. It seemed like this had all been planned for a long time. The next morning, Chao Wu went to work and the spirit of Dalgu was watching him from a distance. The car started and Dalgu started running after him. It wasn't until they got to the TV station that Chao Wu discovered the dog's existence. Chao Wu didn't want to care, but the three ghosts criticized him for being heartless. He finally gave up and called Soha to talk. Dalgu followed him to the TV station. Chao Wu continued working. The show was about to start filming, but Eris still hadn't appeared, so the producer was very worried. A moment later, Soha opened the door and entered. Seeing that there was no other way, the director chose Soha as Chao Wu's partner. Choi Gum felt sad when he found out that Soha had replaced Eris. Choi Gum accidentally saw a faintly glowing symbol, the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper, on Soha's collarbone. This symbol seemed familiar to Choi Gum. It was time to film very quickly. Those scenes were all done with Arom's cooperation, so they went smoothly. The performance of the show exploded. A moment later, Soha was floating in the air, but because her shoes were too loose, she fell out of Dong Cho's arms. At the critical moment, Chao Wu quickly stepped in to save Soha. It was not until the end of the performance that everyone discovered that Choi Gum was missing. At this time, Choi Gum was walking alone outside. He was still reminiscing about the symbol, the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper, on Soha's body, and couldn't help but wonder who Soha was the reincarnation of. But Choi Gum quickly dismissed the idea. After finishing the job, Soha and Chao Wu searched everywhere for Dalgu. When they reached the parking lot, they saw Dalgu rushing towards and circling Chao Wu several times. Dalgu then sat down. Chao Wu was so scared that he dropped his bag on the ground. Soha listened to Chao Wu's description and realized that it was a drug-addicted dog. She knew that Dalgu's reaction was due to the smell of illegal substances, but Chao Wu's bag only contained the coffee that Aris gave him. Soha brought the evidence back to the agency for examination. Later, the camera in front of Chao Wu's factory was also extracted. It turned out that Dalgu smelled a strange smell and kept jumping up and barking, so Aris and his accomplices brutally murdered the dog. When the test results came out, Hisu took everyone to the management company, but it was too late. It was unknown who leaked the news first. Looking at Aris's poster on the wall, Hisu suddenly thought of the time when Chao Wu had Aris's CD in his hand, so Hisu immediately suspected Chao Wu. Chao Wu said that it was the first time he met Aris that day, and that he clearly had good intentions to help the investigation, but now he was a suspect. It was no surprise that the crime reporting rate nationwide had dropped. After hearing this, Hisu did not give up. Hisu said that he knew that Soha's father was killed by Chao Wu's grandfather. Hisu then threatened that Chao Wu should know his limits. In the end, the two parted ways unhappily. The next day, Chao Wu angrily declared that he would have nothing to do with Soha anymore. His anger scared the ghosts very much. Rome took Dalgu for a walk, but suddenly discovered Eris's accomplice passing by. Soha was not far away, so Rome used the rearview mirror of her motorbike to signal to Soha. Soha reacted and quietly followed the man. She saw the man sneak into an abandoned factory. Soha took out her cell phone to report her address to Hisu, but was discovered. Just like that, Soha was arrested. Rome, who was following behind, happened to witness this scene and immediately informed Chao Wu to come and help. Soha struggled in the factory and tried to escape. Suddenly, there was a sound of car brakes outside. Immediately afterwards, 2 door guards were thrown out. Chao Wu came and ordered the thugs to release Soha and introduced himself as Soha's partner. Chao Wu stepped forward and kicked the thugs hard. With the help of the ghosts, he easily defeated those who blocked his way. But because there were too many enemies, Chao Wu was knocked to the ground. Seeing this, Choi Gum grabbed Chao Wu's hand behind his back and taught him how to fight step by step. Dalgu also rushed to help. The scene was extremely chaotic. Eris and his gang wanted to escape, but the car keys were taken by Rome. Then Rome hurriedly stepped forward to help Soha untie her. Soha was a police officer, so of course fighting was no problem. Everyone thought the thugs had been subdued, but unexpectedly a new gangster rushed in from outside the door. He even hit Chao Wu hard with a stick. Luckily, a gunshot rang out from behind at the crucial moment. Hisu and his men arrived in time to capture all the thugs. Soha was very touched when Chao Wu came to save her. She thought Chao Wu was a good man with a warm heart. She even took the initiative to take Chao Wu home, but he harshly said that he did this only to make Choi Gum become a Buddha. But Soha did not care about this, because the result now was that Chao Wu had saved her. Soha went to the living room to find a patch to treat Chao Wu's wound, but accidentally discovered photos of Chao Wong's grandfather. Looking at the familiar man in front of Soha, she felt a little disappointed. She ran out with red eyes. After Cha Wong discovered that Soha had seen his grandfather's photo, he felt confused. He thought of his grandfather, who always suffered just to help others, but in the end, his grandfather received an undeserved end. Cha Wong felt that it was not worth it. This was the real reason why he did not want to become a shaman. After Cha Wong finished packing his tools, he threw them all out the door of the villa. The next day, Cha Wong announced that he was going to sell the house and move to the suburbs. The three ghosts and Choi Gum all objected to this. It was obvious that Choi Gum also needed to accumulate enough merit to become a Buddha. While he was at a dead end, the doorbell rang. It turned out that Mrs. Gum Oh was worried about Cha Wong's safety, so she specially prepared a meal and asked Yeji to bring it over. She also checked to see if Cha Wong was injured. Yeji was not happy to know that Cha Wong was selling the house. She had always liked him, and it was so difficult to move closer to him, but now she had to part ways. But Cha Wong had made up his mind, so Yeji could do nothing. She angrily left. As soon as she went out, she met a couple who came to see the house. Yeji lied to them that the house was haunted. Fortunately, the broker had good business skills, so the couple no longer suspected anything. Unexpectedly, just as the contract was about to be signed, the three ghosts started causing trouble. The lights in the house suddenly flickered. The curtains were shaking. Cha Wong wanted to use his identity as a shaman to hide everything. As a result, the dolls fell from above. Right after that, the broker and the couple were so scared that they screamed and ran out of the villa. Cha Wong was very angry. He had no choice but to explain his awkward relationship with Soha. Only then did Choi Gum learn that Soha was the daughter of the police officer who died in the line of duty. Choi Gum sadly went to see Mrs. Gummo to talk and lament this cruel fate. Choi Gum never expected that when he was about to forget the past, retribution would come right at this moment. Choi Gum is trying to make up for the mistakes he made in his previous life. He has cultivated hard for 2,000 years, so he will not allow any mistakes. After much thought, Choi Gum decides to do something. He goes to Soha's house and plans to tell her everything that happened 10 years ago. But it's a pity that normal people cannot communicate with spirits. After Choi Gum realizes that Soha cannot hear him, he starts typing on the computer next to him. But because of his old age, he doesn't know how to use technology. He deletes and rewrites, so all he gets is the words that I will come back next time. After returning home, Choi Gum asks Arom to help him write a letter, but they writes and deletes it many times. 3 hours have passed, and they still haven't finished writing the letter. Arom finally can't stand it anymore and loses her temper with Choi Gum. Arom believes that the voice of a ghost will react at a certain time, so the two decided to try first. The next day, Cha Wong went to the police station to make a record as required. When he left, he happened to meet Soha. As soon as they met, Soha frankly admitted that she knew the true identity of Cha Wong's grandfather. Cha Wong was the grandson, so he had to apologize on behalf of his grandfather, but Cha Wong refused to apologize because he thought his grandfather did nothing wrong. Soha's father was the one who did wrong. Because Soha's father ran to beg his grandfather to help catch the murderer, it ruined both his grandfather and his lives. This was contrary to what Chang Ho said. Soha chose to believe Chang Ho's words. She thought that it was because of Cha Wong's grandfather's own carelessness that led to the tragedy. In another development, Choi Gum took all of Cha Wong's discarded tools home. After opening the notebook, he saw a photo fall out of it. He quickly picked it up and stuffed it into his chest. When he turned around, he was startled by Arom's tired expression. After a long period of research, Arom had finally invented the translator for people and ghosts. She patiently taught Choi Gum how to use it. Hearing that, he was very excited. Soha was very depressed. She finally understood that there were some things that could not be solved by just her subjective thoughts. Soha asked Chang Ho what happened that year. Chang Ho first said a few sentences to probe, but Soha insisted on listening. Then Chang Ho told her that 10 years ago, when he and Soha's father were planning to catch the murderer, Mr. Sagum suddenly burst in with a spell. The situation was very critical at that time, and Soha's father wanted to save Mr. Sagum, so the accident happened. Soha returned home with her doubts. As soon as she entered, she saw a black box on the table. The box suddenly spoke, and Soha was startled. Only then did she realize that this was a tool for humans and ghosts to communicate with each other. Through this tool, Choi Gum confirmed what Cha Wong said, but the result was that Soha's father took the initiative to seek help from Mr. Sagum. That year, Choi Gum possessed Mr. Sagum and followed Soha's father to the crime scene. For the past 2,000 years, the Cha Wong family has always accompanied Choi Gum, and together they guarded a certain demon. One day, the demon suddenly escaped and caused chaos. It possessed the murderer in the full moon murder case. After learning about this, Soha's father and Mr. Sagum, who was now possessed by Choi Gum, crossed the mountain. It took a lot of effort to realize that the demon was sucking human energy. At the crucial moment, Chan Ho, who was following, accidentally fell and attracted the demon's attention. Seeing that Chan Ho was in danger, Soha's father shot the demon in the leg. The demon was so angry that he turned and attacked Soha's father. Chan Ho was trembling with fear on the side. Fortunately, Mr. Sagum, who was possessed by Choi Gum, cast a spell in time to save save Soha's father. In the end, they put the sealed demon soul back into the calabash, but Choi Gum had lost too much spirit and collapsed, and the calabash in his hand fell. Mr. Sagum took the talisman and gave it to Chang Ho to stick on the calabash. Chang Ho was afraid and refused to go near the scary calabash. Soha's father, although seriously injured, was still able to stand up. He took the talisman and stuck it on the calabash. Unexpectedly, the demon could actually control others while it in the calabash. Immediately after, the possessed murderer suddenly stood up and hit Soha's father to death with a rock. After regaining consciousness, the murderer was extremely scared. He took the calabash and ran to the sea. Chang Ho chased after him and pushed the murderer to the edge of the cliff. At this time, the demon began to disturb the murderer's mind again. Chang Ho gathered all his courage and pulled the trigger, and the murderer fell into the sea under the red moonlight. After telling everything, Choi Gum took out the group photo that he had hidden before. On it was Soha's father, Cha Wum, and Mr. Sagum. Soha burst into tears when she saw the photo. Many years had passed, and now she finally found out the truth behind her father's death. Cha Wum knew that the misunderstanding had been resolved, so he hesitated whether to call Soha or not, but he couldn't put aside his pride. When he saw Arum wearing Dalgu's necklace and entering the room, Cha Wum suddenly came up with a plan. The next day, Cha Wum went to Dalgu's grave early in the morning and waited for Soha and the boy to come to pray for Dalgu's reincarnation. On the way back, Soha and Cha Wum reconciled. Seeing Soha still as lively and cheerful as ever made Cha Wum smile. After that, he changed his mind about moving away. At this time, in a dark room, Taichun was looking in the mirror, cleaning the bloodstains on his body. There were shovels and other tools in the bathtub beside him. Not long after, Taichun left the villa in a formal suit. There was also a family photo of the villa owner hanging on the wall. When Taichun walked out to the yard, he tripped over something. He looked down and saw an arm sticking out, so he had to gently bury it before leaving. Taichun limped forward on the overpass. In the distance, Cha Wum was driving with Soha. It seemed that Taichun sensed the presence of the two of them. A creepy smile suddenly appeared on his face. Another beautiful day had begun. Cha Wum, who loved money, was very unusual today. He refused tomorrow's advertising photo shoot and went into the dressing room to choose nice clothes to go on patrol. Cha Wum defended himself by saying that he wanted to help Choi Gum accumulate merit and become a Buddha as soon as possible. Cha Wum searched for a long time but couldn't find any clothes he liked, so he had to go out and buy new clothes. When he returned home, he met Yeji waiting at the door. Yeji still wanted to marry Cha Wum, but he firmly refused. Seeing Cha Wum's cold attitude, Yeji went to the police station to ask an acquaintance named Young Ryo for help. Yeji wanted to join the patrol team to be with Cha Wum all day. At night, everyone gathered in the living room. Choi Gum was cutting his toenails, but accidentally shot the piece of his toenail he had cut on Cha Wum's face, who was applying a face mask. Rome felt strange because people usually apply a face mask on important occasions, so why was Cha Wum so strange today? He took too much care of his appearance. Cha Wum said that to be a star, you have to be gorgeous, you have to wear makeup when you go to the supermarket. Moreover, tomorrow, he has to go on patrol with Soha. While they were talking, Soha called to remind Cha Wum to come to kindergarten on time tomorrow to meet everyone. Cha Wum didn't like group activities, but when Choi Gum heard Soha say thank you, his eyes immediately widened. He quickly took out the communication device with Human and agreed on Cha Wum's behalf. Choi Gum even used the hand he had just cut his toenails to cover Cha Wum's mouth to prevent Cha Wum from speaking. Dong Cho looked disgusted when he saw this scene. The next day, Cha Wum came dressed neatly but didn't blend in with everyone. Today's mission was just to deliver rice, but Cha Wum's way of dressing really didn't fit. At this time, Yeji also joined the patrol, and Young Ryo followed her closely. A moment later, the truck slowly drove over. As soon as he started working, Cha Wum revealed his true nature. He felt that carrying just one bag of rice was tiring, but Soha carried 3 bags of rice on her shoulder and also carried something in her hand. After a while, Cha Wum sat down to rest because he was exhausted. A sister named Min Seok couldn't help but complain that he was just showing off. Soha said that Min Seok was a rich person. Min Seok had only been married for a few months, and this mountain already belonged to her. But trouble started from there. There was a rich man who wanted to buy this land and build a building. Although the conditions were higher than the market price, Min Seok refused to accept. To get the land, the man even went to the children's hospital to threaten, but Min Seok still refused to compromise. At the end of a busy day, Min Seok invited everyone to eat. Soha appreciated the rice wine she was holding. Cha Wum looked at it and seemed to criticize it, but after tasting it once, he was surprised. He felt that this wine was super delicious, so he kept drinking bowl after bowl without stopping. Even though Cha Wum's face was red, he still insisted that he wasn't drunk. After hearing that, Min Seok asked Cha Wum to perform a magic trick. Cha Wum performed the technique of making chopsticks disappear for the first time. He then took out the cup and blew on it, and immediately a long strip of paper was pulled pulled out from the bottom of the cup. Everyone applauded enthusiastically when they saw this magic trick. The party ended in a happy atmosphere. Chao-wung was drunk and remembered his dead parents. Min-seok seriously told So-ha that Chao-wung just didn't know how to give love, but if she look closely, she will see that he has a kind heart. On the way back, Chao-wung was a bit drunk, so he started to reveal the truth that a person who was always cold like him was very happy to get to know and play with a lively person like So-ha. Hearing this, So-ha felt very happy. She sincerely thanked Chao-wung for participating. Choi-gum looked at the increasing merit from the fan and was extremely happy. So-ha also agreed with Min-seok's assessment of Chao-wung, but Chao-wung was not happy when he said that. He seriously pulled So-ha and slowly approached her. He wanted to prove that he knew how to love someone. The two looked at each other. The world seemed to have stopped at this moment. After returning home, So-ha still couldn't calm down, and Choi-gum, through the strange phenomenon just now, was also alert. He was sure that So-ha was the reincarnation of Princess Chon-hwa. Therefore, Choi-gum also gradually guessed Chao-wung's true identity. When he woke up, Chao-wung had a headache. He dreamed of a woman dying because of him, but the strange thing was that her face was exactly like So-ha's. It turned out that So-ha and Chao-wung were lovers in their previous life. There was still an unfinished fate between the two, which was why they met again in the reincarnation. Choi-gum was the mastermind behind everything that was happening, and of course, whoever created the trouble had to end it. Looking at the merit fan in his hand, Choi-gum decided to help them complete this fate. On the other side, Tae-chun opened his eyes and saw a demon in the mirror. He was surprised why his body had become like this. He didn't understand why the devil bothered him. Unexpectedly, he was thrown to the ground right after. It turned out that the reason the devil chose Tae-chun was because Tae-chun once stole a drunkard's property before he was possessed. From then on, the devil chose him. The devil possessed Tae-chun and turned around to kill the drunkard. Now, in order to survive, Tae-chun had no choice but to lend his body to the devil. A sinister smile appeared on the devil's face. This was just the beginning. In the supermarket, there was a little girl holding a bulging school bag and refusing to let go. The cashier suspected that the girl had stolen something. Seeing that they couldn't solve it, the clerk called the police. So-ha brought Young-rail to the scene. When they opened the backpack, they saw a lot of sanitary napkins inside. So-ha felt that the girl must have her own troubles. When asked, she found out that her older sister didn't have enough money to buy sanitary napkins, so she didn't dare to go to school. She had no other choice, so she went to steal. Hearing this, So-ha immediately ran to buy a lot of sanitary napkins. Choi-gum, who was not far away, saw this scene. He sighed because after so long, So-ha was still so kind, but So-ha didn't have enough money. Just then, Hee-soo appeared in time to help them pay. The two talked and laughed all the way, and also made an appointment to go out on the weekend. At this time, a motorbike passed by, and Hee-soo immediately protected So-ha. Seeing the two people in close contact, Choi-gum decided to go and break things up. He ran back and asked the three ghosts to cooperate with him. The love group Magic Factory was officially formed. They even made Slide to teach Cha-won how to flirt. Sang-gyeon thought that compared to handsome guys, emotional guys would make girls love them more. Sang-gyeon used himself as an example and told Cha-won to get plastic surgery like him. None of the other people's ideas were trustworthy, so Cha-won was angry and wanted to leave. At this time, Choi-gum stepped out and provided important information. That is, when So-ha and Hee-soo talked, it felt very affectionate, as if he was listening to Hee-soo very carefully. Although Cha-won showed that he didn't care, he practiced talking like that the next day. He took the initiative to invite So-ha to the movies. So-ha replied that she had an appointment. Cha-won immediately followed the pattern of saying that she had an appointment. So-ha replied and apologized for not being able to go with him. Cha-won then repeated the word, watch a movie, over and over again, making So-ha scared and find an excuse to leave. But Cha-won thought that they were progressing quite well. He mistakenly thought that So-ha was moved by his words, but the truth was completely the opposite. So-ha didn't want to talk to him anymore and went straight home. In another development, Tae-chun limped into Min-seok's shop. It seemed like he wanted to harm Min-seok. That night, So-ha saw that Min-seok hadn't come to patrol, so she called her husband. Only then did So-ha know that Min-seok had been hospitalized. After work, Min-seok's husband came home and saw his wife lying on the ground in a pool of blood. They had no grudges against anyone else. The only conflict was over land. Only a few thugs came to cause trouble. After knowing that there was a surveillance camera at the store entrance, So-ha immediately informed her colleagues to arrest all the thugs. At the same time, Cha-won looked into the hospital room and saw Min-seok arguing with the Grim Reaper, so he immediately ran over to advise that Min-seok was still breathing and not really dead, so the Grim Reaper shouldn't have appeared at this time. The two joined forces to chase the Grim Reaper away. Min-seok said that there was someone else who wanted to kill her, and that someone else was the real devil. But no matter how So-ha asked, Min-seok refused to reveal Tae-chun's identity. When her husband entered the hospital room and cried, Min-seok's expression became even more painful. After much thought, Min-seok said that the person who killed her was her husband. Min-seok pointed to her husband beside her and recounted the incident. At this time, her husband came home from work, so the demon had to leave. When the evil left, left, it realized that the husband had the same evil aura as itself, so it changed target. The greedy demon absorbed all of the husband's energy. After the demon left, the husband convinced Min-seok to sell the land near the children's hospital, and the couple moved to another place to live. Min-seok explained that before meeting her husband, she had to live a homeless life with her children. In order to not let her children live a homeless life, Min-seok worked hard to earn money to buy that land. The two disagreed, and the husband sighed. Then he put on gloves and took out the prepared stick. He took advantage of the moment when Min-seok was not paying attention and beat her very brutally. Fact, from the moment he decided to get married, the husband had prepared a plan. He thought of embezzling some assets in a reasonable way and then leaving. But no matter what, Min-seok would not sell the land. The husband wiped the blood off his face without feeling guilty at all. Soha knew the truth and swore to bring the real culprit to justice. But strangely, for some reason, the murder weapon appeared in the thug's office. Now the only way was to watch the surveillance camera. Everyone was busy discussing and did not notice the Grim Reaper standing next to them. Seeing that the Grim Reaper was about to take Min-seok away, Cha-won hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. Normally, the Grim Reaper would have to wait 3 days for the funeral to end. Only then could the soul be taken away. This was the rule of hell. After hearing this, the Grim Reaper also felt that it made sense, but because of his busy work, the Grim Reaper wanted to complete his mission quickly, so he went to pick up Min-seok first. Seeing this, Cha-won began to bribe the Grim Reaper. Cha-won had already prepared an offering table for the Grim Reaper at home and treated him very well. After hearing this, the Grim Reaper suddenly smiled and hurriedly returned to Cha-won's house. Although Cha-won helped Min-seok bribe the Grim Reaper, the 3 ghosts in the mansion had to run away. Choi-gum promised to protect everyone. As soon as they met, Choi-gum realized that the Grim Reaper was actually his old friend. The two happily reminisced about the past. The 3 ghosts were no longer afraid of being captured. Since the two had already known each other, Cha-won begged Choi-gum to help stall for time. During this time, they would definitely bring the person who harmed Min-seok to justice. As for the ghosts who were under Cha-won's control, the Grim Reaper was willing to let them go, but after their work contracts expired, they had to leave immediately. After hearing this, Cha-won showed no sign of gratitude and immediately prepared the altar. The Grim Reaper interrupted Cha-won while he was reciting the offering ceremony. The Grim Reaper said that he would only eat spicy rice cakes, cheese, and other delicious foods now. At this time, Sang-gyeon displayed the fruits, causing the Grim Reaper to change his expression. He had long been tired of eating apples and pears. Now he only ate expensive fruits. After finishing eating, the Grim Reaper said goodbye to everyone and planned to return to the hospital to take Min-seok away. Choi-gum accidentally said that the pizza he had just ordered had 4 times the cheese. Hearing that he liked the dish, the Grim Reaper was tempted and stayed to eat it all. At the same time, Soha learned that Min-seok's husband had a previous conviction for fraud. Soha really wanted Hee-soo to quickly put the husband on the suspect list. It's just that there was a 10-year gap between the criminal record and the current case, so it couldn't be used as evidence to prove that the husband was the murderer. At Soha's request, Hee-soo had no choice but to take her to check the surveillance camera. But the strange thing is that after the incident, the husband walked out of the shop without anything in his hand. Soha went to the hospital room the next day and shared the evidence from the camera with Cha-won and Min-seok that the husband had gone out without anything. So how did the stick disappear from the shop and appear in the gangster's office? Cha-won thought that the husband must have had an accomplice. Cha-won took Soha back to the shop to investigate. The two speculated that the husband might have taken advantage of the camera's blind spot to give the big bag with the stick to the accomplice outside the window. The purpose was to frame the gangsters. The husband would deliberately leave through the front door so that the camera would record evidence of him leaving empty-handed. When the husband left, the gangsters came to cause trouble with weapons. As for how the accomplice entered the gangster's office, there must have been a spy among the husband. Fortunately, Aron followed the husband and got the content of his chat with his friends. After selling the land, the husband dreamed of a high-class life. Cha-won sent the recording to Soha. The recording could confirm that the husband had a motive for murder, and Dong-chol had gone to the detention center. He knew from the gangsters that there was once a cripple named Wang Pao who told them to bring sticks to Min-seok's shop at 4 o'clock to cause trouble. Now it was certain that the husband's accomplice was Wang Pao, but this evidence alone was not enough. Soha was thinking hard about how to make the thugs confess. Time quickly came to the 3rd day. Aron secretly did something. She used contact lenses as a trick to fool vision, then used silicone skin to stick to Min-seok's artery. When the doctor used a breathing tube to check, Aron squeezed the tube so the doctor could confirm that Min-seok was dead. The husband fell into the trap and thought that Min-seok had died, so he happily contacted Wang Pao and wanted to sell the land. They arranged to meet at the hotel. Cha-won and Soha happened to hear the husband's call and followed him to the meeting place. Cha-won also booked a room next to the husband's room so that the ghosts could use the tools to broadcast in real time. But the signal in the room was not good. Cha-won's call was unstable. He fumbled around the room to find the best connection position. Finally, Suddenly, he realized that he could hear clearly when he was lying on the bed. After Cha Wung lay down, Sol-ha lay in his arms and wanted to watch the live broadcast with him, but Cha Wung's heart was beating rapidly. He occasionally turned to glance at Sol-ha. At this time, the husband had gone upstairs to sign the contract. Sang-gon held the husband's hand and scribbled, even controlling the husband's hand to randomly draw on Wang Pao's face. At the same time, Dong Chol also started working secretly. He controlled these two people to dance. The cell phone next to him started recording. At that moment, Hee-soo suddenly rushed in. Taking advantage of the moment when Hee-soo and Wang Pao were fighting, the husband quickly ran out. Cha Wung and Sol-ha saw that the situation was not good and chased after him. The husband was scared and ran straight to the rooftop. Luckily, Sol-ha discovered it in time and ran to pull the husband back. But when Cha Wung saw this scene, some scenes from his previous life suddenly appeared in his mind. Luckily, after reacting in time, he immediately went to hug Sol-ha, but could not save the husband because he did not have enough strength. In the end, the husband became a vegetable. During these 3 days, Choi Gum tried his best to stall for time. He also sacrificed a lot. Choi Gum not only gave the Grim Reaper delicious food and drinks, but also took him to the amusement park to try out bumper cars and swings. Choi Gum used the pretext of helping his old friend find childhood memories and then dragged the Grim Reaper up to the Namsan Tower. The two even went to the top of the mountain to hang a lovelock. Choi Gum persevered until the last moment, deliberately stirring up the Grim Reaper's desire to win. Choi Gum juggled the ball 30,000 times to hold out until Cha Wung caught the culprit. They tried to hold out until they caught Tae Chun. After learning the truth, the Grim Reaper praised Choi Gum. Min Seok's case was resolved. After expressing his gratitude, Min Seok prepared to leave with the Grim Reaper. She couldn't bear to say goodbye to everyone. At this time, the soul of Min Seok's husband came to the hospital room and wanted to witness Min Seok's death with his own eyes. A moment later, the Grim Reaper opened the book of life and death. Before taking the ghost away, the Grim Reaper must call the deceased's name 3 times. But after looking at the paper, the Grim Reaper realized that the name of the person who needed to be taken away had now changed to the husband. It turned out that the children that Min Seok helped were secretly praying for a miracle to happen, and so the evil person received the appropriate punishment. Min Seok also slowly woke up in the hospital bed. Sol-ha cried with joy when she witnessed the miracle happen. She was so excited that she hugged Cha Wung. This was the first time Cha Wung felt the joy of helping others. After returning to the mansion, he sat down to drink with Choi Gum. Choi Gum had abstained from alcohol for 10 years, but today, he broke the rule because he was moved by remembering Cha Wung's grandfather. Under Choi Gum's guidance, Cha Wung seemed to understand his grandfather's actions of helping others. That night, a man and a woman were screaming in front of their parents' house for a long time, but no one answered. At this time, the devil was standing behind the two. A moment later, the devil left. The devil recognized Cha Wung on the advertising screen. 2,000 years had passed, and the devil finally began his revenge plan. In the dream, there was a man and a woman who looked exactly like Cha Wung and Sol-ha. The man slowly put the ring on the woman's finger, and the two had the same dream at the same time. In her sleep, Sol-ha stretched out her finger. Then Sol-ha woke up from bed and screamed. She thought she must have had a nightmare. Ever since the strange dream, Cha Wung could not forget the scene in the dream. Once during an interview with a rival, the rival bluntly said that after learning ninjutsu, his success rate in pursuing girls was up to 120%. Hearing this, Cha Wung was very curious. After the interview, he sneaked backstage to learn from his rival. Of course, the rival would not be so easy to talk to. The rival asked Cha Wung to give up his position in the finale. In order to gain Sol-ha's trust, Cha Wung was forced to agree. On the way back, Cha Wung was very excited. He drove while practicing ninjutsu. He had no idea that Sol-ha was currently dating Hee-soo. Luckily, the 3 ghosts all helped Cha Wung follow the two closely. Seeing that Hee-soo was about to confess, Dong Chol quickly ran over and twisted his mouth. Sol-ha thought Hee-soo's jaw was dislocated, so she ran over to check. The two looked at each other. The atmosphere became awkward. Ah-rom took a picture of this scene and sent it to Cha Wung. Cha Wung was shocked. The book on understanding women's hearts fell to the ground. He immediately became angry. Even though he said he didn't care, he stood up and went to the cafe. At that time, Hee-soo was teaching Sol-ha how to bowl. The two of them were so intimate that Cha Wung angrily turned away. Coincidentally, Yeji was also there and pulled Cha Wung back. Yeji suggested that the two of them play a bowling match. Hee-soo scored all the points in the first round. The super strength shocked everyone. Now Cha Wung felt more pressure. Even though he threw it hard, the ball just rolled onto the rail. The next rounds were the same as the last one, so Cha Wung was completely devastated. He even accidentally slipped and fell to the ground, making him feel very embarrassed. Halfway through the match, Choi Gum decided to lead the 3 ghosts to save the situation. The next round, Cha Wung hit the target no matter how he threw. It turned out that Ah-rom had used the umbrella at the right time to knock all the pins down. If it weren't for Dong Chol's help, Cha Wung would have lost again. Hee-soo almost found out. Next it was Hee-soo's turn. Initially the bowling ball moved forward in a straight line. However, it was kicked aside by Sang Jian without hitting any of the pins. Seeing this scene, Sol-ha guessed that Cha Wung was cheating but did not say anything. anything. Finally, Choi Gum acted. He used all his strength to cast a spell on the bowling ball thrown by Cha Won, and thus made a big hole in the wall. Everyone was stunned and could not believe their eyes. The game ended. Hee-soo told Cha Won privately that he would confess to So-ha soon. Cha Won was angry and wanted to leave, but under the instigation of the three ghosts and Choi Gum, Cha Won picked up the ring and hurriedly turned back, but it was too late. Hee-soo expressed his feelings for So-ha. Looking at the two people's hands clasped together, Cha Won held the ring box tightly and left in disappointment. At the same time, Chang Ho was on his way home, but suddenly he saw a familiar face. It was Tae-chun, the full moon killer. Thinking about the nightmare many years ago, Chang Ho was scared and quickly hid. He was afraid that Tae-chun would see him. The next day, Chang Ho checked the black box to make sure he wasn't mistaken, but unexpectedly, Tae-chun appeared on the sofa in front of him. Tae-chun approached and squeezed Chang Ho's neck hard. A moment later, Chang Ho was awakened by his subordinates. The subordinates heard the screams and rushed in to check the situation. In another development, after being shocked, Cha Won looked very tired and in a bad mood. He suddenly got angry with the three ghosts, or just talked to himself while exercising. Seeing Cha Won so sad, Choi Gum advised him to continue pursuing So-ha. Cha Won wondered why Choi Gum always wanted him and So-ha to be together, to the point that So-ha always appeared in his dreams. Choi Gum asked for the details of the dream. Cha Won told Choi Gum what he dreamed about. Hearing that, Choi Gum decided to confess everything. He said that this was actually the memories of their previous lives, so Cha Won and So-ha became connected and often dreamed about each other. It was also a secret reminder for the two to get to know each other as soon as possible. Cha Won just thought that it was because Choi Gum had watched too many dramas. In everyone's eyes, Hee-soo and So-ha had started dating, but for some reason, Hee-soo also looked very haggard. At this time, So-ha had just sent the couple off to report their mother's disappearance when she received a call from Hee-soo inviting her to dinner. She did not agree right away, but found a way to politely decline. It turned out that So-ha did not agree to Hee-soo's confession that day, and she wanted time to think. She didn't know when Cha Won had appeared in her mind. It was not until the moment of confession that So-ha realized that she was only thinking about Cha Won. Hee-soo was willing to give So-ha time. After saying that, he held So-ha's hand. Unfortunately, this scene was seen by Cha Won, but then the peaceful life was broken. The couple who reported the crime went to their parents' house and knocked on the door. Suddenly, the puppy next to them started barking. Immediately after that, something was dug up from the ground. When the two people walked up and saw it, they were so scared that they fell to the ground. 2 fingers were exposed in the ground. The police quickly arrived at the scene. A total of 3 bodies were dug up. So-ha went into the house to investigate. The bathtub was found covered in the blood of the homeowner couple. It was definitely the criminal who broke into the house and used a blunt object to injure the victim, and the body of another student was also brought here and killed later. At this time, So-ha suddenly had a hunch, so she took out her phone to calculate. She suddenly realized that the day of the incident was the full moon day. Then she went to the living room to search for a while. She found many lit candles. It seemed that things were not that simple. The full moon killer seemed to have returned. The subordinate reported the situation to Chang Ho. Out of fear, he affirmed that this case was just a simulation case. The full moon killer was dead, but then Chang Ho went to ask the gang leader to help kill the killer. The reward would be not to search the other party's business premises. The work efficiency of the gang was really good. After getting the photo of the target to be assassinated, the subordinates went around asking around. At the same time, So-ha looked at the camera and discovered that the killer was also crippled. She was even more convinced that he was the full moon killer. The testimony from the neighbors all matched the time of the incident, but this does not prove that this person is the murderer. Hee-soo thinks that a hasty investigation will cause a stir in public opinion. So-ha screams because she is too worried. Hee-soo does not understand how much this case means to her. It has no hope left in Hee-soo, so So-ha thinks of Cha Won and the ghosts and immediately runs to the villa. At this time, the 3 ghosts are speculating about the past and present of Cha Won and So-ha. While they are discussing, So-ha comes and mentions the case of the full moon murderer. Hearing that the demon has returned, everyone is worried. Choi Gum clearly remembers that he sealed it at the bottom of the sea 10 years ago. It seems that the sealing spell may have been broken. Mentioning the sea, So-ha also immediately thinks of the sailors who disappeared at sea not long ago, including one who looked very similar to the full moon murderer. The man returned to the village after losing his memory. There was a high chance that the demon also followed the man back on the full moon day. If that was the case, Choi Gum would follow So-ha back to the crime scene. Surely, it was a case made by a demon. Since leaving the bottom of the sea, the demon's power was still very weak. Just as they were talking, the police station called. So-ha had no choice but to leave first. While Choi Gum followed So-ha outside, Mrs. Wafjum-oh asked Cha Won if he would accept Choi Gum's possession. Only when Cha Won agreed to let Choi Gum enter his body could Choi Gum unleash full power. But Cha Won refused to surrender his body to fight a demon that had nothing to do with him. At this time, Mrs. Gum-oh told him the truth that when he was still in school, he had a conflict with a full moon killer. The killer sent someone to the door to destroy the place and damage the bamboo tube with the magic charm. The demon inside was released, so Mr. Sagum tried very hard to seal it. He never wanted Chawum to know the truth and instead blamed himself for all the mistakes. Only then did Chawum realize his grandfather's suffering. He bowed his head and felt very guilty. The devil was alone on the street when suddenly a group of motorbikes appeared and surrounded him. Facing so many men, the devil was not afraid at all. He clenched his fists tightly and smiled sinisterly. A moment later, Soha received a report. She arrived and saw a man in a black hoodie turning around and running away. She quickly chased after him with her colleagues. Soha knocked the man down and took off his hat. It took a lot of effort for her to pin him to the ground. Unexpectedly, the man explained that he was just following to see what the gangsters were doing. At this time, the devil in Taechun's body had already left. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out behind him. This person was Choi Gum. Choi Gum knocked the devil to the ground. He intended to end the evil relationship here. The two started fighting without saying anything. In their previous life, there was also a fight between the two. On this side, Mrs. Gumo was casting a charm for Chawum. This talisman can temporarily suppress the energy of demons. As long as the talisman is stuck on the demon, it cannot run far. While they were talking, the light suddenly flashed. Mrs. Jum-oh realized that something must have happened to Choi Gum, so she quickly took Chawum out. The two of them found Choi Gum lying at the door with many wounds. Because he was not possessed by a disciple, he was not strong enough, so Choi Gum could only reluctantly fight the enemy. As for the demon and Chawum, it seemed that they had a bad relationship in their previous life. Before the battle, the demon kept angrily saying that Chawum stole his woman and even killed him. Choi Gum speculated that the demon would not give up before he got his revenge. His purpose could be to kill Chawum, or he could be to possess Chawum's body. When Choi Gum told Chawum to fight the demon, Choi Gum told him not to let himself get hurt, because demons possess people through blood, and then the devil will dominate the human spirit and body. Choi Gum repeatedly reminded Chawum to remember this, then he fainted. At this time, Choi Gum's soul power had disintegrated and could not be restored in a short time. At Mrs. Jemo's request, Choi Gum entered the shaman's area to recover. Chawum's expression became more and more serious. At the police station, Soha interrogated the suspect and learned that the gangsters had all lost to one person. Soha was extremely shocked. The suspect said that the person seemed to have supernatural powers. As long as he reached out his hand, the thugs would automatically fly towards him and be strangled by him. Hearing this, Soha realized that something was wrong. She took out the sketch of the demon to show the suspect, and sure enough, it was true. When Sola heard that the demon asked for information about Chawum, she quickly drove to find him. Fortunately, it was just a lie, but she still checked Chawum from top to bottom. She finally breathed a sigh of relief because he was not injured. Chawum did not answer the call because his phone was out of battery. The two began to discuss how to deal with the demon. Chawum assumed that the demon was also seriously injured, otherwise how could it have let the weakened Choi Gum go so easily? But in case of danger, Soha decides that from now on she will protect Chawum 24 hours a day. Chawum refuses, but actually feels happy inside. Soha's best friend is shocked when she finds out that Soha is moving to Chawum's house. Her best friend can see it in Soha's eyes and heart, filled with love. As a result, Soha still refuses to admit it, but Soha says that she only did it to catch criminals, so she moves into Chawum's house. Since there is no room for guests, Chawum takes the initiative to give Soha his bedroom. Soha sees a small box placed at the head of the bed. When she opens it, she sees a female ring inside. While she is wondering, Chawum rushes over and asks her if she has seen what is inside, to which she says no. Chawum immediately snatches the box and explains that it is just a magic prop. While talking about that, Soha's stomach started growling with hunger. Chawum went into the kitchen to cook instant noodles. Soha saw this and went into the kitchen to cook noodles with him. Many ingredients were added to the noodles, making them more appealing. Chawum, who had not eaten noodles for a long time to keep fit, was craving them. He expressed that he wanted to try a little, but even if he only took a bite, he couldn't stop right away. He carried the pot of noodles around the dining table to avoid Soha chasing him. After eating her fill, Soha planned to let the three ghosts catch the demon first. She then used a stun gun to temporarily knock the demon out and asked Gomo to help exorcise them, but Chawum said that the demon might have possessed someone else. The only way to tell is to see if the other person suddenly behaved strangely. After talking about the demon, the two talked about Hisu. Chawum deliberately brought up the fact that Soha and Hisu seemed to be dating. Soha immediately denied it and said she was still single. Hearing that, Chawum was very happy, but then Soha praised Hisu and said that during her most difficult times, Hisu was always by her side. This made Chawum feel sad. Soha quickly changed the topic. Chawum didn't say anything more, just stuffed a few charms into Soha's pocket and turned to go into the house. The demon was so furious that it swore to make Choi Gum and Chawum out of their wits on the next full moon night. At night, Chawum quietly carried Soha back to her room. When he saw her sleeping on the balcony, he gently covered her with a blanket. After falling asleep, some memories appeared in Chawum's mind. In the field under the sunlight, the girl was flying a kite with the children. The demon mocked Chawum Wung for being too soft-hearted. The murderer and rebel were only sentenced to exile. After Cha Wung heard that the princess despised him, he felt sad. When he woke up, it was already the next day. Cha Wung screamed loudly and rolled off the sofa. He was confused by these dreams. At this time, Cha Wung received a call from Arom and rushed to the company. Seoul had finished assigning tasks to the ghosts. They divided into 3 groups to find the whereabouts of the demon. Because she was eager to go to work, Seoha didn't notice that she dropped her wallet. Cha Wung picked it up to see that today was her birthday, so he had an idea. Seoha returned home after work in the evening and found Cha Wung's house completely dark. Seeing someone standing in front of the window, she immediately pulled out her gun to be on guard, but Seoha saw that the 2 people were getting closer and closer. Unexpectedly, the person who appeared in front of her was Cha Wung, and the bouquet of flowers. He sang her a happy birthday song. Seoha saw that Cha Wung was different from usual, so she thought that Cha Wung was possessed by a demon. So, she quickly took out pepper spray and captured Cha Wung. The scene was extremely chaotic. 3 ghosts hurriedly stepped forward and dragged Seoha away. When the lights turned on, Cha Wung was no longer in the mood to celebrate the birthday. The surprise he had prepared so carefully turned out like this. Seoha then remembered that today was her birthday. She also received a gift from Cha Wung and blew out the candles with the 3 ghosts. After the party, Seoha and Cha Wung went to the balcony to drink tea. Seoha was surprised that a self-centered person like Cha Wung would celebrate someone else's birthday. The 2 reminisced about the past. After meeting each other, the atmosphere suddenly became warm. Seoha also took the initiative to ask about Cha Wung's birthday. She decided that she would celebrate his birthday next time. The next day, the ghost stood on the high-rise building and felt uncomfortable. The person that the demon chasing was Seoha. Seoha raised her head and noticed something unusual in the reflection mirror. In order to avoid hurting innocent people, she asked Young Ryol to split up and patrol. Then she conveniently turned on the secret recorder. In the underground passage, Seoha turned around and faced the demon directly. After telling the demon about his methods of committing crimes, she immediately raised her gun. When the demon learned that Seoha was the daughter of the police detective he killed 10 years ago, the demon felt contempt. Because in his eyes, human life was worthless. Seeing the demon getting closer and closer, Seoha was about to pull the trigger. Unexpectedly, Young Ryol suddenly appeared. He used the electric gun and shot the demon. Unfortunately, this had no effect on the demon. The demon was not injured at all. Immediately after that, the demon threw Young Ryol out and approached Seoha. When the devil was about to attack Seoha, he realized that her face looked very similar to the woman he loved deeply in his previous life. In just a moment, the devil changed his mind and turned around to leave with an indescribable feeling. Remembering the past experiences between the 2 of them, the devil thought that this was a fateful encounter. Cha Wung brought a lunchbox to the police station to pick up Seoha after work. Hearing that Seoha was in the hospital, he rushed there. After knowing that the injured person was Young Ryol, Cha Wung breathed a sigh of relief. Hisu also went to the hospital to listen to Seoha explain the whole story. Hisu brought Seoha's tape recorder to his father and also suggested that the Full Moon murder case be reinvestigated. Seeing that he could no longer hide it, Chang-ho confessed the whole story. At that time, Seoha's father did not bring Chang-ho along, but instead, Seoha's father followed Mr. Sagyam to catch the devil. Chang-ho secretly followed the 2 of them. In the end, everything was interrupted by the sudden appearance of Chang-ho. This led to Seoha's father's unjust death. If the truth was revealed, Chang-ho would not only not be able to enter the National Assembly but also ruin Kur's career. Hisu looked at his father kneeling before him and begging. He was extremely disappointed, so he pushed his father away and left. Time passed quickly. The full moon night had come. Cha Wung wanted to solve the problem alone, so he asked the 3 ghosts to find a reason to keep Seoha. But Dong Chol accidentally revealed the plan. Seoha could not ask the 3 ghosts, but she discovered the map under the table. She turned around to prepare to leave, but was unexpectedly blocked by the 3 ghosts and locked in the room. It did not take Cha Wung too long to find the ghosts. The battle between the 2 was about to take place. Seoha cried and begged the 3 ghosts to let her out. She did not want the tragedy of the past to repeat itself. The 3 ghosts refused Seoha's request. Seoha pretended to surrender on the surface, but in reality, she escaped through the window. Meanwhile, Cha Wung first talked to charm the demon, then he performed magic to drive the demon away. As a result, Chang Woo accidentally burned his hand. Then he dropped a smoke bomb and a talisman on the unprepared demon. Seeing this, Gameo quickly started to cast a spell. Yeji placed the calabash in front of the demon and then began to roll up the talisman. The demon immediately convulsed in pain on the ground. He grabbed Yeji when she was off guard. Cha Wung stood up and continued to attack the demon. He successfully rescued Yeji. The demon turned around and hit Cha Wung hard. At the same time, memories of his previous life resurfaced in Cha Wung's mind. The demon continued to attack him relentlessly. Seoha arrived at the scene in time and attacked the demon from behind, but she was also thrown out. At this moment, Cha Wung knelt on the ground like a lost soul. Memories kept appearing in his mind. Seeing that the demon wanted to act again, Seoha on the side immediately rushed to protect Cha Wung. Suddenly, a barrier of power appeared in front of the 2. Cha Wung from the previous life appeared with yellow yellow eyes and a round mirror, while Chawum's eyes turned blue. There was another soul in his body. That soul cast a spell to seal the demon's soul back into the calabash and stuck a talisman on it. After making sure that everyone was out of danger, Chawum collapsed to the ground exhausted. Soha originally wanted to chase after the awakened Taechun, but when she saw Chawum fall, Soha stopped. She turned back to take him to the hospital. On the other side, Hisu received the news and was patrolling nearby. He happened to see Taechun running away and hurriedly chased after him. Taechun originally wanted to fight to the last breath, but after a gunshot, the alley became quiet again. A month later, Hisu was promoted and received a reward for catching the criminal. Soha looked at the empty living room of Chawum's house with red eyes. Soha didn't know why after what happened last time, she could see ghosts, but because there was no energy supply, the energy of the three ghosts was gradually disappearing. They didn't know how long they could stay in the mortal world. Fortunately, Choi Gum reappeared at the crucial moment. Choi Gum went to the hospital to visit Chawum, and Gummo was there taking care of him. Gummo told Choi Gum that Chawum's eyes turned blue that day. Even though he had never learned the art of sealing, Chawum had actually sealed the demon into the calabash that day. Choi Gum suddenly realized that Soha's step to hug Chawum that day had activated the mirror's energy and awakened Chawum's past life. That was why Chawum suddenly had the ability to seal the demon, and Soha could also see ghosts. Chawum then fell into a deep sleep. He was trapped in a dream and couldn't get out. At this time, Chawum was experiencing a dream about his past life. He stepped onto the altar with a round bronze mirror to pray for rain for everyone. The sky, which had been calm, suddenly became windy. Dark clouds gathered and it rained heavily. Everyone cheered when they saw this. Soha was then Princess Chonha. She ignored Choi Gum's objections and went straight to the altar, took out a banner, and shouted in support of Chawum. She had no dignity as a princess. After the rain stopped, a man came to find Chawum. The man was stunned by the power of the bronze mirror and wanted to drag Chawum to fight the enemy. Chawum refused because he would only use the bronze mirror for things that would benefit the people. The man who was rejected angrily slapped Chawum and scolded Chawum as a useless magician. Princess Chonhua was still infatuated with Chawum's handsome and could not escape. She and the maid sent out banners of support together and even coaxed Choi Gum to join them. Hearing that Chawum would also be visiting the people tomorrow, Chonhua immediately felt excited. The next day, the two of them distributed food to everyone together. At the very last person, there was still a little girl who had nothing. Seeing this, Chonhua took off the ring and gave it to her. Chawum knew that this was a relic left by Chonhua's mother and that she had always carried it with her. But now, Chonhua did not hesitate to give it to someone in need. Chawum could not help but feel a little touched. He silently remembered this and then specially bought a new ring for Chonhua. At Chonhua's request, he put it on her himself. Chonhua said that up until now, when a man put a ring on a woman, it meant that he was proposing to her. But Chawum did not mean it that way. Hearing this, she immediately became sad. Chawum did not dare to say anything more. Chonhua thought that he had secretly admitted to the proposal. On the other side, in another country, the previous life of the devil was a general named Soju, who was also the younger brother of the king. Soju bribed his servant to poison the king. Soju planned to attack neighboring countries after ascending the throne, which was also the country where Chawum and Chonhua lived. At this time, a man from the neighboring country sent a letter. The letter emphasized the use of bronze mirrors by Chawum to exert magical powers. The next day, Soju went to see Chawum directly. At this time, Chawum was flying a kite on the hillside with Chonhua and the children. Chonhua wanted the kite to fly higher, but accidentally broke the thread. Just as the kite was about to fall off the cliff, Chawum cast a spell to make it fly back, causing everyone to burst into laughter. Soju was standing not far from everyone and saw that, only paying attention to the bronze mirror. At this time, a boy accidentally bumped into Soju. When Soju was about to draw his sword, Chonhua stepped forward to stop him. She not only apologized on behalf of the boy, but also helped Soju bandage his wound. This made Soju moved by Chonhua. After returning home, Chonhua took the initiative to talk to Chawum, but Chawum thought that since he came from an ordinary family, he was not worthy to be with Chonhua. After hearing this, Chonhua sadly left. After confirming Chawum's magical power with her own eyes, Soju began to discuss the plan with his subordinates. Land can be easily captured, but if you want to win the hearts of the people, the central figure must be eliminated first. The ministers advocated that tonight they would eliminate Chawum and Chonhua, but Seoju opposed this plan because he wanted to conquer the land, the people, and Chonhua. The next day, a plague broke out in the village. While Chonhua was taking care of the seriously ill people, she accidentally got infected. Now, only the elixir on the mountaintop could cure the plague, but getting the elixir was very dangerous. If they was not careful, they would die at the hands of the enemy on the other side of the border, or fall off the cliff. Sending troops there would easily cause a dispute. So Chawum decided to go alone to find the elixir. After going through many difficulties, Chawum finally found the elixir, but right after getting it, his foot slipped and he accidentally rolled off the cliff. 4 days passed. Chonhua's breathing became weaker and weaker, but Chawum still had not returned. Choi Gum was planning to send someone to check at the mountain peak. At that moment, Cha Wong returned. He ignored his wound and tried to prepare medicine for Chunhua. After hearing that Chunhua's condition had improved after taking the medicine, Cha Wong breathed a sigh of relief and shed tears. When Choi Gum bandaged Cha Wong's wound, he said that you clearly had feelings for Chunhua, but did not dare to face those feelings. Cha Wong also had his own hardships. He possessed a divine object and had many people following him. If Chunhua were by his side, she would encounter many troubles and be hurt. Choi Gum spoke up and said that as a bodyguard, he would risk his life to protect Chunhua. All Cha Wong could do was love Chunhua with all heart and cherish each other. After hearing that, Cha Wong looked at the handkerchief Chunhua gave him. His heart was a little moved. Choi Gum wanted the two of them to marry, so he deliberately told Chunhua everything Cha Wong had done for her. Chunhua was moved to tears. She took the initiative to meet her father to express her feelings that she wanted to marry Cha Wong. Although the king appeared to object, he actually valued Cha Wong very much. Since his wife passed away, he had never seen his daughter smile again. It was not until Cha Wong appeared that she became happy again. Not long after, the king agreed to this marriage and even thought of a way to explain it to the ministers. Sol Ha was extremely happy and took the order and left. But not long after, someone came to report that an envoy from the enemy country had come to visit, and that was Soju. In the court, the king seemed to welcome him, but Soju said that this time, he came to sign a peace treaty. At the same time, Chunhua searched everywhere but could not find Cha Wong. Choi Gum said that Cha Wong often went up the mountain alone, so she followed him. She saw that the cave was full of flowers that Cha Wong planted for her. Chunhua was very touched, and at this moment, Cha Wong confessed his feelings. The couple kissed sweetly. Chunhua returned to the palace and was about to tell her father the good news when she saw Soju's army standing there. When Chunhua knew that she was about to be sent to marry the enemy country, she was extremely stunned. She did not want to accept this truth. She wanted to fight with reason, but her father sent someone to take her away, and Soju followed closely behind. He pretended to say that he also hated political disputes, but in his words, he still meant to tell Chunhua to be obedient. Not only that, he shamelessly held Chunhua's hand. Chunhua withdrew her hand to prove her love for Cha Wong. She definitely would not accept this marriage. The king was also very reluctant. He has always valued Cha Wong, but if the marriage is not approved, it will lead to war. No matter how strong Cha Wong is, he cannot fight against the enemy's army of 100,000. In order to avoid the displacement of the people, the king can only sacrifice his daughter's happiness and ask Cha Wong to persuade Chunhua to marry. He visits Chunhua late at night and hears her crying. Choi Gum advises Cha Wong to use the bronze mirror to win the battle, but divine power should not be used on a battlefield filled with ghosts. If it goes against God's will, everyone will be punished. Not only will Cha Wong die, but the miracles that happened through the bronze mirror before will also turn into disasters. A few days later, Chunhua is still lying alone in her room crying helplessly. Cha Wong also goes to the place where the two of them confessed their feelings to each other. The two meet for the last time. Cha Wong endures the pain to persuade Chunhua to marry. For the sake of everyone, he ignored Chunhua's request to escape and turned away without looking back, leaving Chunhua crying miserably. This scene was coincidentally seen by Soju, who was passing by. He had secretly set up Cha Wong to collude with neighboring countries to cause chaos. Chunhua heard the news and did not think it was like that. She wanted to plead with her father but was stopped by Choi Gum. The situation was now very dangerous. As a princess, Chunhua had better not appear. Fortunately, the king was a wise king. He did not order Cha Wong's execution but planned to exile Cha Wong to the border. At night, Soju went to visit Cha Wong in prison. Soju also regretted that the king was too soft-hearted to let a traitor like Cha Wong be exiled. Cha Wong wanted nothing more than to see Chunhua again. Soju deliberately said that Chunhua now despised him immensely. After Cha Wong was punished, Soju took out the treasure to gain Chunhua's trust. Chunhua seemed serious and had no intention of talking to him. She just wanted to vindicate Cha Wong. She wanted to exchange this marriage for Cha Wong's safety. These words immediately angered the arrogant Soju. Chunhua actually refused to marry him in exchange for Cha Wong's safety. Soju believed that based on his ability, he could take over this country, but he brought elite soldiers here for Chunhua's sake, just so that the two countries could establish friendly relations. Soju said that Chunhua's stubborn love for Cha Wong would bring disaster to her country. He brutally threatened Chunhua and forced her to obediently become his woman. After saying that, Soju angrily left. After leaving the palace, Soju ordered her subordinates to find an opportunity to eliminate Cha Wong tomorrow. This scene was seen by Chunhua's servant, so the servant ran back to report to Chunhua. The servant then ran to the warehouse to help Cha Wong get the bronze mirror. The next day, Cha Wong went into exile. The palace maid pretended to be injured by a piece of porcelain to attract attention. Chunhua took the opportunity to run away. When Seoju learned about it, he became furious and brutally killed the maid. At the same time, Chunhua rode her horse to rescue Cha Wong and put the bronze mirror on him. She told him that Soju had set it all up. Before the two could say a few words, Seoju's men arrived. The scene immediately became chaotic. Soon after, Soju also arrived. Seeing this, Cha Wong took took Chunhua and fled into the forest but was still caught up. Seeing that there was no hope of escape, Chao pushed Chunhua aside. Chao would face Soju and his men alone. Soju ordered his men to shoot arrows at Chao. Chao used his divine power to make the arrow fly back and kill all the assassins. Then he borrowed divine power to defeat his pursuers. Seeing that, Soju quickly held Chunhua hostage and forced Chao to hand over the bronze mirror. Chao followed Soju's words, but Soju did not keep his word. He said that today, one of the two people, Chao or Chunhua, must die. Chao was determined to choose to sacrifice himself. Soju knocked out Chunhua and wanted to kill Chao. Unexpectedly, Chunhua suddenly woke up and took the sword strike for Chao. While Chunhua still had some breath, she took the bronze mirror from Soju's hand and gave it to Chao. At this time, Soju still had no regrets and only wanted to avoid responsibility. Chao went crazy, put on the bronze mirror, and sucked out all of Soju's soul to seal it in the bamboo tube. After finishing everything, Chao put the bronze mirror in Chunhua's hand. He secretly swore that no matter when or where they met again, he would love her again. Then Chao collapsed to the ground, exhausted. After recalling all his memories, Chao in the present slowly woke up. He looked at Soha lying in front of him and caressed her face. Soha woke up and saw Chao alive in front of her and burst into tears. Chao hugged Soha tightly and refused to let go. Chao told Soha about their past lives. While the two were talking, the three ghosts rushed to the hospital after hearing the news. Fortunately, Chao was safe and sound. After Chao was discharged from the hospital, the two went to Gummo's house. Choi Gum suddenly became worried when he learned that Chao had recalled his past life's memories. Only when he heard that Chao only remembered part of it did Choi Gum secretly breathe a sigh of relief. Chao, who survived the disaster, began to plan to flirt with Soha. Just like in his previous life, he sent flowers and wrote love letters, and he also personally picked up Soha after work with tonics. Soha couldn't stand it anymore and angrily asked Chao if everything had to be imitated in his previous life. What if he had kissed the princess? Unexpectedly, Chao asked her if this really happened, and the atmosphere gradually became awkward. Just as the two were about to kiss, Soha's best friend suddenly appeared. Chao was scared and immediately ran away. Seeing Chao pursuing Soha, Choi Gum and three ghosts came to support. Hearing this, Chao's expression immediately changed. While speaking, he was afraid that Choi Gum would have terrible thoughts again. It turned out that when Chao was falsely accused of colluding with the neighboring country, it was Choi Gum who went into Chao's room to get evidence. Choi Gum sensed the change in Chao. He wanted to leave this house. At that moment, Chao came out of the room. The two went to the balcony to talk clearly that in the previous life, Choi Gum's younger brother had collaborated with the enemy and betrayed the country. Soju used this to threaten him. The helpless Choi Gum could only blame Chao, but after discovering that Chunhua and Chao had passed away, Choi Gum was so remorseful that he ended his life. When he woke up again, he had gone to the underworld. The mirrored fan also fell not far away. On the fan, it was written that the guilty must repent. From that day on, Choi Gum transformed into a wandering ghost in the underworld, and the ancestors of Chao's family guarded him for many generations. After 2,000 years of possession, until he met Chao and Soha, who were reincarnated, Choi Gum realized that his mission was to help the two continue their unfinished relationship in the previous life. Choi Gum cried bitterly and knelt down to apologize for his past mistakes, but unfortunately, it was too late. In the end, Choi Gum still had to leave with so much regret for this villa. On the other side, danger was lurking. On the day of the accident, Chao had not completely sealed the demon. The demon sneaked into Tae-chun's body. Then he took the initiative to call and lure Hisu to come. The demon in the alley used a knife to cut Hisu's hand and took over his body through the blood from the wound, and Tae-chun, who was by his side, was no longer of any use. The demon controlled Hisu to use a gun to kill Tae-chun. The next day, Soha was transferred to Hisu's room. She finally became a police detective. Soha did not realize that danger was with her. One day, while Soha was chasing a criminal, she was knocked to the ground by him. The criminal raised his weapon and attacked Soha. At this time, Hisu, who was not far away, used magic to make the criminal stab himself. Soha, who was on the side, turned around and saw the criminal screaming and was also surprised. But at that time, Hisu used force to kick the criminal away. Hisu's actions were so cruel that Soha couldn't help but feel suspicious because the kind Hisu had never treated criminals so cruelly. After the two returned to the police station, they saw a woman crying. It turned out that her daughter had been missing for 5 years and there was no trace. Seeing that, Soha took the initiative to take over the case. Her colleagues couldn't help but mock Soha for being a busybody and asked her to go buy coffee. After Soha left, Hisu stepped forward to protect her, but his mouth called out Soha's previous life. At the same time, Chao was filming a video filled with love at home. His lazy hairstyle and excessive romance made the three ghosts complain. After watching the video Chao sent, Soha spat out all the water in her mouth. The video of Chao showing affection was really offensive. That night, everyone returned to the villa with a sumptuous dinner. When Soha was about to eat, she saw Chao looking at her affectionately. Soha immediately lost her appetite. The three ghosts ghosts also asked Cha-Wum to restrain his emotions. Cha-Wum looked miserable and could only restrain himself. Soha looked at the three ghosts and found that only Choi-gum was missing. Now she knew that Cha-Wum had chased Choi-gum away. Soha couldn't bear it in her heart. To atone for his sins, Choi-gum had not been to the underworld for more than 2,000 years. It was time for Cha-Wum to forgive him. Hearing this, Cha-Wum said that he still needed time to accept the fact that Choi-gum had betrayed him. Soha was very upset and didn't want to see Cha-Wum like that. She suggested that the two of them not see each other for a while, and then she left with red eyes. A car accident happened near the tunnel the next day. There was nothing nearby, but the driver drove as if he was avoiding something. The driver turned the wheel sharply and hit the curb. What was even more coincidental is that the accidents there were all of the same type of vehicle, and the drivers saw a woman in white. After hearing about the case, Hisu made an excuse to go to the scene with Soha. When the two were alone, Hisu gave Soha an expensive bracelet. Soha returned the gift because it would put pressure on her. Hisu was agitated because except for this bracelet, he would give Soha more in the future. He would give her all the power, money, and reputation. Seeing Hisu in front of Soha felt very strange. Seeing Soha not listening, Hisu forced her to wear the bracelet and unilaterally declared Soha as his woman. Soha withdrew her hand, rejected Hisu's confession, got out of the car, and left. She walked forward and happened to pass by the tunnel where the accident happened. She actually saw the woman in white wandering around the entrance of the tunnel. The woman raised her head with a fierce expression. Soha was so scared that she turned around and ran away. That night, Soha told the three ghosts about the incident. Thinking about her experience during the day, Soha couldn't help but feel scared. She never wanted to go near the tunnel again. Even though she said that, she couldn't let the accident happen again. Dongchul suggested asking Cha-Wum for help, but he had just been scolded by Soha, and yesterday she also said that they wouldn't see each other anymore, so it would be embarrassing to ask for help today. Soha suggested that everyone should act together. While they were talking, Cha-Wum suddenly appeared behind them. Soha initially wanted to hide it, but seeing Cha-Wum persisting over and over again, she gave in. Everyone went to the tunnel together. Cha-Wum took the lead and called out to the woman in white, but when she turned around, everyone was scared and ran away. Even the three ghosts were no exception. While running away, Dongchul tripped and fell to the ground. He could only cry and watch the others leave. At this time, the woman in white was chasing after him. Dongchul tried to stand up. When he looked back, he saw that this woman was Mai Young. The two were old acquaintances and had a happy past. Dongchul wanted to retire from the underworld because of Mai Young. When he left, the boss asked him to do something, which was to take control of a rival gang's nightclub. Because of the woman he loved, Dongchul had no choice but to agree. While working, he was beaten until his head bled, but he still successfully withdrew from the underworld. That night, Dongchul walked towards Mai Young with flowers in his hand. Unexpectedly, he was hit from behind by a motorcyclist. After being in a coma in the hospital for a long time, Dongchul still did not survive. He could only leave this world with regrets. What Dongchul did not expect was that the murderer did not even let Mai Young go. The murderer took Mai Young into a car and went to the tunnel entrance to kill her. The two lovers turned into ghosts. Mai Young sat in the tunnel looking for revenge and almost became a demon. That night, Mai Young saw the murderer's face. He had a long scar under his eye. Remembering the past, Mai Young felt resentment and wanted to become evil again. In order to prevent her from hurting innocent people, everyone locked her in an empty room first. Time was running out, so everyone had to quickly catch the culprit to deal with Mai Young's anger. According to the key points of the case described by Soha and Mai Young, Dongchul suddenly realized that Mai Young was talking about his boss. It turned out that the boss had been determined to kill everyone from the beginning to the end. The next day, Soha told Hisu about her suspicions in this case. Hisu also apologized for his previous recklessness. The two settled their personal matters and began to focus on work. Mai Young and Dongchul were clearly destined to die because of the gang fight, but strangely, this was not mentioned in the file. Soha planned to start by interrogating the boss first. Not long after, the boss and Hisu were sitting in the car talking. The boss asked Hisu why he didn't stop Soha from investigating the case 5 years ago. Hisu said that if you wanted to make a deal with me, you had to show sincerity, which was to quickly deal with Cha-Wum. Otherwise, the boss would have to go to jail. Even though the boss didn't want to, he had no choice but to listen. That night, after calming down, Mai Young suddenly remembered that before she died, she seemed to have pulled out the boss's hair. Soha thought that this was an important clue. As long as they could find the body, they could use DNA to bring the culprit to justice. Everyone immediately went up the mountain to search. Mai Young returned to the sad place and started to turn into a demon again. At this moment, a car crashed into them from behind. The scene was extremely chaotic. Dongchul also recognized that it was the boss. He stepped on the gas and crashed into the back of the car. The boss really wanted to push Cha-Wum off the cliff, but for some reason, it seemed like there was an obstacle in front of him. It turned out that Choi-gum had tried best to block the car. Just as the boss wanted to retreat to attack again, he found that the car could not move anymore. It turned out that Dongchul had stopped the car. In his shock, the boss seemed to see Dongchul. He got out of the car to check the situation kitchen and saw Ma Young standing there. When he saw Ma Young, he was so scared that he turned around and ran away. But how could a human run as fast as a ghost? Ma Young strangled the boss, wanting to kill him right there. Luckily, Dong Chol arrived in time to prevent the tragedy from happening. The two hugged each other tightly. Just having each other by their side at this moment was enough. Then Chao Won went to dig up Ma Young's body. Choi Gum chased after Chao Won and acted very politely. After a few words of conversation, Chao Won knew that Choi Gum had been secretly protecting him these past few days. In fact, Chao Won was almost happy again, which made Choi Gum extremely happy and conveniently stayed to help. The boss was finally taken to the police station for questioning. Seeing Ma Young's photo, he was so scared that he hid in a corner and quickly confessed. Ma Young's mother cried until her eyes were swollen when she heard that her daughter had been found. Ma Young was also very grateful for everyone's help. She and Dong Chol planned to get married. After enjoying a perfect love life, they would become Buddhas together. Choi Gum also returned to the villa with everyone. The next day, Dong Chol started his first date with Ma Young. Chao Won stayed up late teaching Dong Chol magic tricks with rings all night. As a result, Dong Chol's hands slipped at the crucial moment, causing the ring to fall into the river. Two people watching this scene not far away laughed at Dong Chol's clumsiness. Then Chao Won held out the ring box in front of Soha. Soha recognized it at a glance as the one in Chao Won's bedroom. Chao Won took off the ring and put it on Soha's ring finger, the finger that symbolizes love. Chao Won expressed his feelings for the woman he loved at this moment. Before he knew what happened in his previous life, he had already fallen in love with Soha. After Chao Won confessed, the two officially dated. Chao Won immediately became a lover's maniac. As soon as he finished filming the commercial, he forgot that he had another job. He just wanted to see Soha as soon as possible. Just meeting each other was not enough. They also had to stay up all night on the phone and texting. Chao Won kept mentioning Soha. He hurriedly went to the date location. The women around talked a lot about the two of them and couldn't help but sigh in regret for the handsome Chao Won. Soha hurriedly pulled Chao Won out of the store and went for a walk. After walking a few steps, they met Chao Won's fans again. On the way, Soha felt confused. The two of them could not date peacefully. There were always strange people interrupting their dates. But Soha also said that she was very happy to have such a handsome lover. As soon as she heard the word lover, Chao Won smiled happily like a child. Seeing Chao Won and Sol too loving each other like that, Gomo was also very pleased. Choi Gum planned to bury the calabash that sealed the demon on a day with the strongest negative energy before becoming Buddha. Before he could say a few words, he suddenly remembered that there was going to be a meeting of the ghosts, so he had to hurry back to the villa. After returning, Choi Gum was considered an old member of the team. Not only did he have to serve tea and water to the three ghosts, but he would even be scolded if he didn't pay attention to his words. Choi Gum is no longer as majestic as before. Choi Gum angrily opened the merit fan to see that there was only one bar left. At that time, he would eliminate all bad karma and become a Buddha. Chao Won's family would no longer need to follow the path of a shaman. Then Chao Won's ability to see ghosts would disappear. After hearing that, the three ghosts were extremely worried because without Chao Won's protection, they would truly become lonely ghosts. So the three ghosts hurriedly stopped Chao Won from being alone with Soha. Luckily, they arrived in time before Soha could thank Chao Won. The word thank you was about to be said but was stuck. After that, the three ghosts surrounded the two of them to prevent Chao Won from doing anything to make Soha thank him. The two of them were helpless and wanted to be alone but were stopped. To prevent Soha from saying thank you, Chao Won could only keep his distance from her. He couldn't take Soha home. Even if Soha fell on the street, he wouldn't dare to help. At this time, the two accidentally met Yeji and Young Ryol on a date, so the four of them went out for a late-night snack. At the dinner table, Yeji saw that Chao Won didn't know how to take care of his girlfriend. She was so angry that she suggested that Soha find a more thoughtful and reliable boyfriend. A man who only had face and money wasn't enough. Soha just laughed without saying anything. Then they started playing a drinking game. The loser would be punished with alcohol. Soha drank cup after cup, and finally she collapsed on the table unconscious. In order not to be thanked, Chao Won decided to turn around and go home. He returned home with a dejected expression. He looked around and thought that soon everyone would have to leave this big house. If he was the only one left, Chao Won felt sad. But no matter what, Chao Won decided to help the ghosts become Buddhas first, and happily sent them off. The real ghosts are also preparing for the upcoming farewell. Although he is reluctant, Chao Won wants to help Ah Rome fulfill her last wish. Ah Rome remembers that she's been paralyzed since she was a child. She can only rely on a wheelchair to move forward. Sometimes she receives help from strangers. Ah Rome is very grateful and wants to help others. After listening, Chao Won specially suggested acting at the orphanage and asked Ah Rome to play the role of a supernatural girl to fulfill her dream of becoming a hero. Ah Rome is very happy to know this. She also expressed that she wants Soha to take on the role of dubbing. On the other side, the boss was arrested, so the recording of his conversation with Haesu was also exposed. In order to protect Haesu, Chamho secretly bribed her to cover up this matter. After leaving the office, the demon talked to himself and said that Haesu had met a good father. In the evening, Chun-ho brought good wine to treat the boss. Seeing the boss drink it all in one gulp without any precautions made Chun-ho feel at ease. Not long after, the boss convulsed and fell onto the sofa. Before he died, the boss mentioned that he had scheduled an automatic email. The recording would be sent to the media. It was clear that the boss was not an idiot. In order to cover up this matter, Chun-ho sought help from the congressman. He also introduced Hee-soo to everyone. The next day, news came that the boss had left the life by himself. So-ha was about to rush to the scene when Hee-soo stopped her. The case of the boss dying right after being released clearly had too many suspicious points, but Hee-soo gently said that the boss deserved to die like that. Seeing Hee-soo consider human life as nothing, So-ha felt very strange. Cha-woong came to ask So-ha to help dubbing for the show, and so he coincidentally met Hee-soo at the elevator entrance. The two people walked in. The demon in Hee-soo's body really wanted to kill Cha-woong. Unexpectedly, Choi-gum suddenly appeared. The demon could only pretend not to see Choi-gum. The demon in Hee-soo's body heard the two people talking that Choi-gum was absent from the orphanage performance that day. This happened to be a good opportunity to kill Cha-woong. Hee-soo originally wanted to use the excuse of going to dinner to take So-ha away, but it was too late. So-ha had agreed to help Cha-woong at the orphanage. Hee-soo also wanted to participate in the name of helping. So-ha found it difficult to refuse, so she could only agree. The day of the performance arrived. Cha-woong was in the office with the director discussing the donation. At this moment, there was a sudden noise outside. Hee-soo had used an iron chain to lock the office door. Under his screams, the chandeliers exploded one after another and fire broke out in the building. At this time, So-ha and the three ghosts still did not know what was happening. Seeing that Cha-woong had not appeared for a long time, everyone had to let Dong-chol take his place. While talking, Hee-soo suddenly ran over and wanted to take So-ha away. The alarm rang. So-ha shook Hee-soo's hand away and hurriedly went to evacuate the children. At the same time, Cha-woong saw the director coughing in fear, so he quickly moistened a towel and gave it to the director. Then he called Dong-chol and Sang-gyeon for help. Thanks to that, he was lucky to escape. Ah-rum had lost her life in a fire before she died. When she faced the billowing smoke, she unconsciously stopped. But when she turned around, she discovered that there was still a little girl who had not been evacuated, so she quickly saved this girl. Because the hallway was full of smoke, Ah-rum carried the little girl to the balcony on the second floor. To survive, they had to jump from the second floor. The little girl was a little scared, but regained courage after Ah-rum reassured her. Ah-rum took off her cloak and put it on the girl's head. Before people downstairs were also ready, Ah-rum counted down 3 seconds and jumped and successfully landed on the ground. The children saw this and clapped their hands in applause. Hee-soo angrily left when she saw that his plan had failed. Choi-gum was absent because he went with Mrs. Gum to the cave to bury the calabash containing the demon. Choi-gum then set up a barrier in the cave, and that was it. Ah-rum's transformation into a superhero to save the girl was reported on the news. After this, Ah-rum also understood the meaning of a magician. Ah-rum remembered her first days of working until now and cherished every moment. She sincerely expressed her gratitude to Cha-woong because this was the happiest time for her. In fact, So-ha was also very curious about how Cha-woong started doing magic. Cha-woong confessed that at first he just wanted revenge. He wanted to impress those who had made fun of his grandfather. Cha-woong said it was time to stop, but So-ha saw through everything. She took out his work notes and said that if he didn't love it, how could he work so hard? With So-ha's encouragement, Cha-woong decided to perform magic in a new way. Although it took a long time to research, at least he still had the person he loved by his side. All difficulties would be solved. At the end of the day, Cha-woong took So-ha to the door and they said their sweet goodbyes. All of this was seen by Hee-soo, who was not far away. Hee-soo followed So-ha into the door and took the initiative to hug her. So-ha was extremely scared when the demon made Hee-soo lose his mind for a moment. Luckily, Hee-soo came back to his senses immediately. After apologizing, Hee-soo left in embarrassment. Today, So-ha was accidentally pushed over by a coworker while carrying a box. The colleague helped So-ha stand up and dusted off her clothes. Unexpectedly, Hee-soo immediately rushed over and punched the colleague. Hee-soo told her colleague not to touch So-ha. Hee-soo was originally a gentle and polite person. Her sudden change in personality combined with everything that happened before made So-ha think that Hee-soo had a mental problem. She was about to tell Chun-ho to take Hee-soo to the hospital. So-ha was about to open the door and enter Chun-ho's room when she heard the conversation between him and someone else. Chun-ho always thought that So-ha was unlucky. He had adopted So-ha before just to appear in front of the media with a great image. After hearing that, So-ha was extremely shocked. When she was in a bad mood, she could only hide in the villa and drink. Luckily, she still had her companion, Cha-woong. When the two were about to kiss, Dong-chol and Ah-rum appeared to interrupt. After chasing them away, the two continued, but Choi-gum came to cause trouble. It turned out that Sang-gyeon was in a bad mood today, as if he had a broken heart. Everyone was worried and came to ask. A few days ago, Sang-gyeon went to the gate of the piano school to visit his daughter, but he heard his daughter tell the teacher that she didn't want to participate in the competition anymore. As soon as she got home, she hid in her room and refused to come out. She had secretly read her mother's diary before and learned that Sang Gyeon died from overwork because he was saving money to buy her a piano. She felt extremely guilty that she couldn't practice as well as before. In fact, there was another hidden story behind this problem. It was true that Sang Gyeon delivered express delivery during the day and worked as a driver at night, but he died from overwork was unexpected. That night, Sang Gyeon drove a customer who was too drunk. The customer was so drunk that he immediately grabbed the steering wheel, causing the car to lose control and crash into an oncoming truck. Sang Gyeon also died because of this, leaving his family in great pain. Sang Gyeon blamed himself for making his daughter feel guilty. There was a piano competition tomorrow, but what should they do now? After a while of discussion, they went to Jim-oh to ask for help so that the girl would see Sang Gyeon in her dream tonight. But it was not easy to enter the dream. Jim-oh said that the only way to get permission from the god they served was to take out 3 talismans written in blood and pray sincerely. When Cha-won heard this, he volunteered to use his blood to write the talisman. Then, everyone began to pray devoutly. That night, his daughter met Sang Gyeon in her dream. Sang Gyeon told his daughter that sacrificing for the family was the best thing he had ever done. He hoped that his daughter could play her beloved piano to her heart's content, which was Sang Gyeon's greatest hope as a father. The next day, the daughter rushed out to participate in the competition. Cha-won had been waiting at the door for a long time, but unfortunately, there was a traffic jam today. The car stopped for more than 10 minutes without moving at all. Soon after, a man wearing a helmet drove up. Cha-won claimed that this guy was his employee so that the daughter could go to the competition with peace of mind. Leaning on this man's shoulder, the daughter felt a familiar sense of security. The competition quickly began, and she played the song she had promised Sang Gyeon. The moment the song ended, she seemed to see Sang Gyeon cheering for her in the stands. In another development, So-ha suggested that Hee-soo go to the hospital to see a psychologist. Hee-soo did not agree to this. He was a little angry after hearing what So-ha said. Hee-soo held hands under the table, and black smoke came out. At this time, the 3 ghosts in the mansion were about to leave. Everyone started preparing for Dong-cheol's wedding. So-ha noticed Cha-won's reluctant expression. Choi-gum refused to be the witness because he had never loved anyone in 2,000 years. At that time, he was busy with work, but when he was free and was 100 years old, the new ghost did not like Choi-gum because he was too old. Ghosts of the same age were very strong and scary, so Choi-gum was alone forever. While they were talking, the wedding had already begun. Dong-cheol and Mayan stood on stage and solemnly swore their oaths. Cha-won was also quietly hugging So-ha below. When the wedding bouquet was thrown, So-ha quickly ran up to catch it. Everyone joked that if she did not get married within 6 months of catching the wedding bouquet, she would be single for life. Cha-won ran out and told her to rest assured that she would not be single. The 3 ghosts' wishes came true. It was soon time for them to part ways, and everyone was reluctant to leave. They stayed for a while before saying goodbye. Then Cha-won asked Choi-gum to take So-ha home first. He turned around and walked in, looking blankly at the empty living room. He thought about the past moments of the 4 of them. Cha-won couldn't help but cry. As for Hee-soo's body, the demon had already sealed it in the mirror. Hee-soo angrily smashed the mirror and tried to escape, but could only scream helplessly. The demon was out looking for food, and coincidentally met Yeji, who was shopping alone. At the crucial moment, Choi-gum passed by and saved Yeji's life. He once again felt the familiar breath, and of course, he knew something was wrong. The next day, Choi-gum, Cha-won, and Jo-mo went to the place where the sealed gourd was buried. Choi-gum opened it and found out that the person inside was not the demon. Things started to get more difficult, because Choi-gum had originally created a barrier there. This had taken almost all of his power. Now it would be more difficult to fight the demon. At this time, Cha-won expressed his willingness to let Choi-gum possess his body. The next day, Cha-won made an appointment to meet So-ha because he had something to say. So-ha was so happy that she chose beautiful clothes. After receiving the bouquet last time, Cha-won said that he would propose to So-ha within 6 months. But today, he suddenly asked her out like this. Something must be wrong. So-ha came to the appointment with high expectations, but Cha-won had a serious expression. So-ha was waiting for Cha-won to propose to her, but Cha-won proposed to break up. So-ha couldn't accept it and immediately asked the reason. Cha-won pretended to be cold and said that he no longer had feelings for So-ha. After saying that, he immediately left, not paying any attention to So-ha, who was sitting there. A week after the two broke up, Cha-won seemed to disappear from So-ha. So-ha went everywhere looking for Cha-won, and even went to Gamo to beg her where Cha-won was. At this time, Cha-won entered the cave to isolate himself from So-ha. He wanted to get rid of the disturbing thoughts in his mind. Only then could he unite with Choi-gum. Yeji saw that So-ha was so heartbroken, so she went to the police station to visit her. Yeji told So-ha that the evil spirit was not yet sealed in the calabash. Inside it was exactly Tae-chun's soul. In order to capture the evil spirit, Cha-won decided to let Choi-gum possess his body. Cha-won was worried that So-ha would be in danger, so they broke up. The evil spirit eavesdropped on the conversation between the two and learned all about Choi-gum and Cha-won's plans. So-ha followed the address Yeji provided and found the cave. When she saw that So-ha knew everything, Cha-won didn't hide it anymore. He was worried that if So-ha knew about his decision, they would fight the evil spirit together at all costs. costs. The last thing Cha Won wanted to see was Soha getting hurt. Soha shed tears. She was willing to share happiness and pain with Cha Won. She couldn't live peacefully without Cha Won by her side. Even if Cha Won died, she would stay by his side. Cha Won hugged Soha after hearing that. At the same time, Hee-soo had also chased here, but couldn't get inside. That night, Soha was preparing to drive home when Hee-soo, who was standing next to her, stopped her. The devil's patience was exhausted. He forced Soha to make a choice, to become his woman or to die by his hand. Hee-soo's eyes were full of murderous intent. Soha felt something was wrong. She quickly escaped from Hee-soo's restraint and pointed the gun at him. At this moment, Soha realized that Hee-soo had been possessed by the devil. Soha's actions also showed her choice. The devil didn't say anything more and started to act against Soha. Seeing Soha in danger, Hee-soo relied on his will to gain control of his body and temporarily let go of Soha. Hee-soo and the demon began to fight for the right to use the body. Hee-soo was a little better at controlling his body so as not to hurt Soha. He ran straight out into the street wanting to leave this world. Fortunately, Soha saved him. Hee-soo was only slightly injured. Jang Ho immediately ran to the hospital after receiving the news. At this time, the demon once again took over Hee-soo's body. After injuring Chang Ho, the demon changed direction and took over Chang Ho's body. Hee-soo also forgot what had happened recently. Soha was also resting in the hospital. After waking up, Soha immediately told Go-mo that Hee-soo was possessed by a demon. Jumo went to Hee-soo's room but did not feel the presence of the demon at all. Jumo guessed that the demon had transferred to someone else. No one knew where the demon was now. Jumo was worried that the act of sealing the demon would cause a conflict. Sure enough, the first person the demon looked for was Jumo. A while later, when Choi Gum and Cha Won went to see Gum-oh, they found her lying dead on the floor. Cha Won went to check the murder weapon, but the police arrived and arrested him as a suspect. Fortunately, Choi Gum helped to hold the police back, giving Cha Won a chance to escape. After receiving the news, the demon in Chang Ho's body immediately ordered a nationwide search for Cha Won. If there was resistance, kill him immediately. Cha Won fled to his hometown, where he accidentally met two kind old men who were willing to give him a ride. Cha Won looked closely and saw that these two old men looked very much like Dong Chol and Sam Gyeon. The two old men were extremely enthusiastic and invited Cha Won to their house for dinner, and the old woman who prepared the meal looked exactly like Ah Rong. Cha Won stayed here for one night and left early the next morning. He returned to the house where he lived with his grandfather when he was young. Then Choi Gum came here with Yeji. Jumo had passed away so Yeji would replace her. On the other side, Soha returned to the police station. Looking at the scar on Chang Ho's face, Soha couldn't help but suspect that the devil had possessed him, so she immediately informed Yeji and the others. But before she could say anything, Chang Ho appeared next to Soha and immediately hung up the phone. On Cha Won's side, with Yeji's help, Choi Gum and Cha Won successfully merged. After Choi Gum took over Cha Won's body, he felt that Soha was being held by the devil. The devil also decided to possess Soha and take everything from her. This was the way for him to have her. After saying that, the devil attacked and possessed Soha. When Cha Won appeared, he was thrown away by Soha because the devil was in Soha's body. The demon suddenly realized that after taking over Soha's body, its power increased. The demon attacked Cha Won again and again and threatened Soha's life. Cha Won was helpless and had to compromise. He suggested that the demon possess him and let Soha leave. Choi Gum said that once Cha Won's body was possessed by the demon, Choi Gum would be forced to leave Cha Won's body and would no longer be able to protect him. But for Soha's safety, Cha Won sacrificed himself. The demon was moved and agreed to the deal and immediately entered Cha Won. At the same time, Cha Won used a spell to seal the demon in his body so that Choi Gum could escape and stab him with the sword. Seeing Cha Won's consciousness gradually fading, Choi Gum raised his sword. Cha Won chose to leave this world without hesitation. Cha Won comforted Choi Gum that he no longer needed to feel guilty. Choi Gum slowly disappeared and became a Buddha, while Cha Won was injured and knelt on the ground, his body gradually disintegrating. Cha Won returned to his previous life and met Chan Hua. He explained to her about the end of their previous life. Chan Hua was curious about whether they would meet and love each other again in the next life. Receiving a positive answer from Cha Won, Chan Hua felt relieved. She prayed that she would love Cha Won again. This was her only wish. At this time, Chan Hua hoped that Cha Won could return to the person he loved. A moment later, Soha woke up. She hugged Cha Won, who was kneeling beside her, and cried out in pain. Unexpectedly, Cha Won actually responded to Soha with a tight hug and everything went back to normal. Chan Ho was arrested and Cha Won was also cleared. He and Soha also set a wedding date. He took her to a place where there were old people who looked exactly like the three ghosts. A neighbor passing by told Cha Won that no one lived in this house. This house had no water and electricity for 10 years. Cha Won suddenly realized that it turned out the three ghosts were helping him. 5 years later, Cha Won is still active on the magic stage. Soha and Young Ryol became partners to catch criminals together. Today is the birthday of Soha and Cha Won's son. The child specially invited 3 other children to the house as guests. These 3 children correspond to the 3 ghosts from before. Seeing the children playing happily, Jawong and Soha were also happy. Above is the entire content of the movie. Thank you everyone for watching. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos.